in to the Rant with me, Pugs Moran. Happy Friday the 13th. It's the only sound effect I have. I've got 4 sound effects. We play them throughout the show. You're probably fairly familiar with them. What is this show? It's the Rant. It is a current events throwdown of all the day's news, all the hot topics, entertainment world, sports. We dabble in politics, but honestly, folks, you got to know from the get-go, I hate your politics, and I'm not choosing sides. I hate your politics. I hate that there are people out there who feel the need to tell me about their politics. I think politics are private. I think you go into a voting booth, although you don't do that anymore, do you? The last couple of times I've voted on basically like flat screens, like boop, boop, and I don't remember how private it was. Point is this: we don't do politics on this show. I find them distracting. I find them divisive. And the way they're being done now, very anti-American. So what do? What does that mean? Well, I like to say this show is for normal people. We just take a normal person. What is a normal person? Well, here you go. A quick little litmus test. Quick little litmus test. Quick little litmus test on what a normal person is. If you've never been thrown off an airplane and then the clip of which goes viral, okay, all right. If that's never happened, then you might be normal. You might be normal. If you've never been arrested in a Target store for fighting with somebody, a total stranger who you just met like 20 seconds earlier, if you've never had that happen, you might be normal. And if you are still invited to your family's events, like even the ones that spring up, I'm not talking about Thanksgiving and Christmas, and, the family events that sometimes the people with the really loud political opinions don't get invited to anymore. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the more important family gatherings, the ones that spring up out of nowhere, like, hey, did you hear? Bob got the big promotion. We're all going to dinner on Saturday. If you're not invited to those, if you find out about those a week later, when a cousin goes, oh, how come you weren't at the dinner? If that's you, you're not allowed to listen because you're not normal. You're the problem. So that's what this show is. It's a look at current events, hot topics, all that stuff from the perspective of somebody who's normal and doesn't honestly give a fuck how you vote. Are we ready? We're ready. Say hi to the chat room. I love my chat room, you people. 3 years we've been doing this. 3 years, and you people have been in this chat room every day. Go ahead, stop complaining, chat room. I just merged it, okay? We're merged. Yeah, I'm feeling salty. Feeling salty today. Look, it's Lacey. Look, say hi, Lacey. Hi. It's Lacey. Just hanging out in the studio. Oh, I'm being hugged.
Have a wonderful weekend.
How are you, Lacey?
Fantastic. How are you?
Come over here. Chat with me. We can plug in another mic, but why do that?
Hi, Pugs. No, because I use your mic anyway. Did I mess it up? Is it off for you?
No. Lacey uses the studios to record another show on Fridays, which is why we're always a little bit late, but not a big deal. Some days we're just late, and there is no show before us. Lacey, I have a question for you. I would love to hear. Actually, are you leaving? Because you just call in. Just call from your car.
No.
Okay. You want to do it here? I was just talking about how we don't do politics, but you, Lacey, are very well known globally as one of the founders of the world's most popular Taylor Swift podcast. What's that called?
13, a Taylor Swift fan podcast. She's amazing.
She's nuts. She's like fucking. She's like Taylor Swift nuts. All right, so let me ask you this. Has Taylor Swift, now you're a grown, you can sit on my lap. You're a grown-ass woman.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're not what is considered the typical Taylor Swiftie, right? That's somebody who's 25, 26 at this point.
No, she has fans of all ages, young, old, elder. No, I'm not kidding. There's people who are like, oh, I'm 50. I'm too old to be a Swiftie. And we're like, welcome to the club, honey. No.
Well, I get that because she is massive. I mean, I like her. I'm not who we're talking about, though, when we talk about the typical Taylor Swift demo. So I mean, let's talk about politically. She's considered to be very influential with young women voters. Now, you are a grown ass woman. You are not a little kid bopping around on a college campus. Has Taylor Swift's endorsement of Biden affected you in the way that you are? Because you are a girl. Now, you're an interesting case, and that's why I wanted to talk to you about this. And I'll give you the mic and let you talk. You are as Southern as they come. You are from Dogpaw, Georgia. Where are you from?
I'm from Warner Robins, Georgia.
You grew up in as conservative a community as there is in America, I'm guessing, yes?
Yeah.
All right, so we've set who Lacey is. And did Taylor Swift affect you in the way you look at politics, either before or now in this coming election?
I love this question because absolutely not. We had so many people want to come interview us regarding politics because of Taylor Swift. And how insulting is it to think that I vote the way that I vote because of Taylor Swift? I vote the way that I vote because of things that I believe in. And Taylor Swift has always told people to educate yourself and vote. That's always been her biggest platform is to, yeah.
Can I interrupt? Because I want to hinge on something that you just said there. Do you think that instead of you voting the way Taylor Swift is telling you to vote, do you think maybe you're a Taylor Swift fan because she echoes the way you already feel?
Yeah. I mean, I will say that I believe in a lot of the same stuff that she believes in, but will I vote because of who she votes for? No. And that's a little bit insulting. And that's why we don't talk politics on our podcast. But whenever people wanted to interview us about that, it was like, how insulting to think that I'm going to vote a way because that's how Taylor Swift votes. No, but she always says to educate yourself and to make a vote, and voting does matter.
That being said, like, you're an 18-year-old Taylor Swift freak, like the kind you hear from. Come on. She does influence to an extent. And that's not a bad thing. It's just a positive, or it's a part of being a celebrity. You know, I don't know if you've heard this, but sometimes these people are called influencers.
If you ever...
I mean, now we're demonizing it.
If you ever get a chance, watch Miss Americana documentary on Netflix. That's something that Taylor Swift put out in, I don't know, 2020, 2021, something like that. And it explains why she views certain issues the way that she views them and why. And to hear somebody very well spoken who can explain why that certain subjects do matter to her, and that's what she votes for, and there's very good understanding why.
All right, so just to confirm, you have not been brainwashed by the woke mob who has obviously taken over the puppet strings to control Taylor Swift.
No. I believe in the way that I feel because I'm a woman, and yeah.
All right, thank you. That was a wonderful answer. And I'm not kidding. She just choked me out. All right, go on. Get out of here. There she goes, the lovely Lacey G, 13 podcast. She's so good. I got to find something. We do have something that we keep talking about doing, but I don't think either one of us know exactly how to take the first step. But that'll be fun if we can get that started, right? Yes, it is. There she goes. There she goes, the lovely Lacey. You can find her at propoddigital.com. She is a producer and co-director, I'm going to say, of all operations over there. So Lacey G, very talented, gifted girl. Look at Byron. Tards of a feather. I love it. I do. I love Lacey, and part of the reason that I love Lacey is because she is. You know who she is? I'll tell you who she is. And this is what's so incredibly fun about her. She is a Southern fried Kelly Kapoor from The Office, and I mean that, saying that Kelly Kapoor was one of my favorite characters on The Office. I mean, it's just it's a wonderful way to go through life. ACG. We're all big fans. Hi, Adam. Adam's here. Let's say hi to the chat room. My man Byron is hanging out. Peter's here. Barney's here. Sports Bras are here. Let's see. I got to make it bigger. Oh, you know what? I didn't merge the chat room right on time, so I don't have everybody. John Hernandez is here. Leslie C is here. Oh, by the way, we do need to do this. Yesterday, I was busting y'all's balls about we didn't have any executive producer for yesterday's show. It was upsetting. We got one today. Oh my God. Thank you so much to today's executive producer of the show. Every day, I should explain. Every day, the person who tips the most, because the show runs on your tips, the person who tips the most gets to be the executive producer. It's a mostly symbolic title, but it is a sincerely appreciated one. So thank you to Chris C. Chris C was yesterday's big tipper. It's hard doing this, folks, and I appreciate you guys. I really do. What else do I need to say about that? What else? Anything else? Oh, yeah. I suppose now would be a good time to do this. If you do want to support the show and be the executive producer of Monday's show, all you got to do is drop a little thing. Thank you, Chris, dude. That's cool. And we'll talk soon. There you go. Just let me take a breath. Hey, you know what I need to talk about? We had a football game last night. That's right. How about, ladies and gentlemen, this is the part of the show where I like to talk about Texas high school junior varsity football. That's right. Uber specific. I think it's going to get everybody in the country who is specifically interested in junior varsity football, especially of the Plano East variety. So, we may even penetrate into Allen, is what I'm saying. So my son plays for the Plano East Junior Varsity. He is a center and a long snapper, and I'm very proud of him because, you gotta say that when your kid's a center. There's not a whole lot of things to point to. Like I said, I used to sit last year next to the quarterback's son or the quarterback's dad. And they were undefeated last year. So let me tell you, the quarterback did some things, some demonstrable things, Your Honor. And my kid was the center. And it was, so I spent a lot of time. I'll sit with him this year, mainly because that kid's not the quarterback anymore. I don't know what's going on with that. I think I heard, and this is no joke, that he joined the chess club instead. That's what I heard. Didn't want to play football. And oh my God, oh boy, after last night, and that's one of the big stories we're going to talk about today. Oh, I can understand why this kid is no longer going to play quarterback in a run-first offense. This kid, I used to call him little Kyler Murray, which is weird because Kyler Murray's little. But I used to call him little Kyler Murray out there, man. Any broken play went for 70 with this kid. And now he's on the chess team because, boy, oh boy. Anyway, we had a football game last night. I told you my son's team last season went undefeated, and I was really cocky. You guys had to put up with me. I'm like, there ain't nobody. Bring on the Chiefs, right? When they were their freshman team, they were so good. And this year, we started out, first game of the season, we won. Very good. How exciting. But you don't know dick with the first game of the season. That's NFL. That's why this week in sports betting is like the craziest and silliest week in sports betting all football season. And it's because week one tells you almost nothing. It tells you a little thing, but week one, you go in with nothing but hype. This is the best team in the league, and then they lose by 40. I'll give you an example. There were people going into last Sunday going, let me tell you something. All these people out here thinking that Carolina's going to suck again. I think Carolina's going to surprise everybody. They are very much improved from what they were last year, and then Carolina loses their first game by 47 points. Anyway, this week is silly week in the markets. It's overreaction week, right? Like, I'll give you an example. Like, suddenly, like, one dude out there has moved in the power rankings, the Minnesota Vikings, from 20th to 6th. Based on the gambling idea that Sam Darnold is back and he's got the receivers now. I don't know. Well, whatever. Anyway. So week one, we didn't know anything when my kid's team blew out the other team, other than we blew out teams last year. And here we go. Game one, we're blowing out this team. We don't know if that team was any good. We blew them out. Second week, we lost. They lost. This somehow indestructible team goes on the road for the second game of the season and doesn't doesn't play. I mean, that's the only way I could describe them in game 2, is that there was like no energy, and they were just, there was nothing. And I was like, what the fuck? And they got beat. As I hear the story progress from my son through, it was that team was not good. And they were just like, yeah, we're going to kick their ass. And they're really cocky, and they were looking forward to a different game, which was apparently the game we played last night. So my team is my kid is 1-1 going into week 3. And I'm a dad. He's long snapping, fucking like a D1 long snapper. My kid is the best. Let me just say this. All right, dad brag. Here we go. First of many. My kid is the best goddamn long snapper in Texas at the sophomore junior varsity level. I'll say that. Well, there's probably some kid at like South Lake Carroll who's he's the son of 15-year NFL veteran long snapper Vic Tremmings. Google it. Let me know if Vic Tremmings is a real person. So we play the game. I was very nervous, very, very nervous. We're 1-1. We think we're good, but we don't know. We're 1-1. And we get blown out in the first half. It's 10-0. It's 10-0 in the first half. What the fuck? What is going on here? We got Plano West. We got Plano West next week. This is the team that you're fielding? They came back. They won 24-16. So it's a win. Oh, man. I still don't know. I still don't know what my kid's team is this year. Here's what they did. They showed that when they try, here's how it happened. And isn't this how it always happens? It happened on an interception. It was like 10-0 in the third quarter, and we returned. We had a pick 6. And the team went nuts, and there was energy and all that. And then the offense came out, and the offense scored on the second play with like a dart over the middle that went for like 50 yards. It was beautiful. Big kickoff. Momentum, energy. And then in the fourth quarter, they were just like, all right, we're winning now. So anyway, they're finding their way. They'll figure out who they are, right? They'll figure it out. They knew they had to win because next week is Plano West. And if you think I was nervous going into this week not knowing, Plano West, are you kidding? A district game against an arch rival? Get the hell. So there you go. That's small talk. That's my football talk. Sports Bra says, damn right, Pugs. Be that proud, Dad. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. But I know that there are people that don't care. So that's why I try to be over-performative and make it kind of a little bit interesting in my storytelling. I don't know if it works, but, I'm a narcissist. Got my code mix, fucking code mix. Too good to be legal. Code mix. Telling you, they should be paying me, and they're not. I think it speaks to the level of probable toxins that are in there, that the colder the code mix is, the better. You get it just on the verge of freezing, and it is like something Zeus drinks on top of Mount Olympus, some sort of ambrosia cocktail. But then as it gets a little warmer, it loses that, and you start tasting an aftertaste, and you're like, I don't know if that should be legal. But I do enjoy code mix. All right, have we covered everything? It's Friday. It's Friday the 13th. God, I saw that, and like, I'm not superstitious or anything. Like, I don't. My mom is like a big hippie chick when it comes to like numerology and astrology. She loves that shit. I mean, she's also a science-minded and extremely well-read, brilliant woman, but she is a woman of her age, and she was a hippie. So that's kind of there in her blood, in the marrow, if you will. So I was sort of raised around that kind of thing, and I never got into it. But it's Friday the 13th, and apparently that's a really bad day. I saw it this morning. I'm like, wait, Friday the 13th? What does that mean? Does that mean anything? God. But you know what it is? Because I'm anxious, because I have a little bit of anxiety over these kinds of things. Now I'm thinking, well, here's why. I exist in a universe where any small thing that goes wrong could absolutely devastate everything, right? So, I mean, it's a very precarious existence, but I choose optimism and hope and hard work and diligence and all that kind of thing. And I don't choose, let's be sad about it. But I am aware that, we all live, they say that like certain percentage of Americans are like 3 lost paychecks away from being homeless and on the street. We all to some degree probably exist delicately, right? But I don't need no Friday the 13th bullshit, is what I'm saying. It's like this is a day where I become hyper aware of all the things that can go wrong. And now I'm thinking about them when on most days I'm able to compartmentalize and be a normal, natural human being. But not today, because Friday the 13th. And as I said, I don't even believe in that shit. Barney says, I did my homework. My 18-year-old son doesn't know who Sydney Sweeney is. He lives under a rock. Man, he's 18 and doesn't know. Now, Barney, did you ask him if he knows who Zendaya is? Because that's what I'm trying to figure out. I know who's more popular among dudes like me. I know who the dads like more. The dads like Sydney Sweeney way more. I'm trying to get to the bottom of whether or not the kids, the teen boys, I'm just, this is a very informal poll. I'm trying to determine the likes and dislikes and flavors of the emerging digital consumer. Thank you. Always thinking. And what does it say about them if they are choosing when seeing Zendaya, who is gorgeous, over Sydney Sweeney, which I believe young people are, because my son and all of his friends seem to be far more attracted to the beautiful Zendaya than they are the voluptuous and classically hot blonde Sydney Sweeney. I'm wondering if the younger generation has a more refined taste, and if that's due at all to pornography. I bet it is. They've seen it all. They have seen it all. Most kids, because of their access to pornography, something we never had. We never had that. You know what our access to pornography was? Your uncle who had a box in the garage filled with old hustlers. That was it. That was our access to pornography. And then all of a sudden, you got this new generation who the minute they get their first hard on, they can go on Pornhub and look at whatever the fuck. I don't know what it is. So I'm wondering if one of the effects of that is by the time they get to be teenagers, they're more sophisticated when it comes to who they're pining for. They know what a porn whore looks like. They're like, and maybe that is Sydney Sweeney more. More. Yeah, I think so. Although they both make fantastic porn stars. Thank you, Barney. Barney actually did the homework. Oh, and Barney says he did know. He knew Zendaya from Spider-Man. Maybe that's it. That could be another connection. And the reason we say Zendaya and Sydney Sweeney is because they're both on that HBO series, which I don't know what it's called, because again, it seems like it's for chicks. And yeah, there's some beautiful women on it, but they all seem to be underage. It's just not, it doesn't appeal to me on any level, is what I'm saying. It seems like there's a lot of phone calls between boyfriends and girlfriends. I don't want that. So I don't know the show, but it's a hot show among the younger generation. Sort of, if you will, for oldsters, Ginger or Marianne, right? Jeannie or Sam, the witch from Bewitched. I don't know. I just think that might be the modern equivalent of that, Sydney Sweeney or Zendaya. And I am noticing that a lot of young people seem to be very much in the corner of Zendaya. Hello, Al Gamboa. And that's probably it, because Zendaya has established herself as sort of royalty within that Marvel universe, because she not only appeared in the Spider-Man movies, which are some of the biggest of the franchises, but she's also dating Tom Holland, right? She's with Spider-Man. She's actually the real-life girlfriend of the real-life Spider-Man. And I think maybe among the 12 puberty, the just hitting puberty, the 12 to 16 crowd, I think maybe it's the they can fantasize about her because she's from their Spider-Man. And then Sydney Sweeney did that Madam Web, and that was a huge bomb for DC. So maybe that is it. Maybe it's awareness. All right. We're putting way too much effort into trying to figure this out, but I find it interesting. Peter Lufkin says Marianne and Jeannie. See, now I'm a Ginger Grant and Samantha guy. I like Samantha. I don't know what that says about us. I will be thinking about that later, though, Peter. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand people who like Marianne. I'm like, wow, man, you guys are definitely not dreamers. Like, if that's a litmus test for me. Like, who do you like, Ginger or Marianne? Like, well, I'm gonna go with Marianne because she looks like the girls I grew up with. I'm like, you know, who doesn't look like the girls you grew up with? The Hollywood fuck bomb, Ginger Rogers. This is a fantasy. This isn't gonna really happen. Live a little in your fantasy world. I don't understand why anybody chooses Marianne. You are selling yourselves short, guys. Now, as far as the Genie into Samantha, you would think that I would go with Genie if I'm using that same criteria, but I don't. And here's why: because Genie had magical powers, but she fucked them up. Genie fucked shit up. Genie made life really difficult, and she's hot. Okay, there you go. You can be two things at once. Samantha from Bewitched, she used her powers to fix shit all the time. It was Darren fucking shit up and Samantha helping and, doing her nose, ding, 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 and like fixing it. And she was hot. So those two things, that's why I go with Samantha. Isn't it weird that I put this much thought into it? All right, let's get started with the rant. This is an uninterrupted stream of consciousness, me talking about the whole world. We're going to get into all the stuff people are talking about. It's going to be fun today. The fuck was that? It's going to be fun today. The rant. It is the 13th day, Friday the 13th of September, year of our Lord 2024. 257 days, because it's leap year. 257 days have passed already, and there are 109 left until New Year's Eve. Think about that, 109 days. You know why that's crazy? Because I saw going around on Twitter, people already complaining. This is something that we love to do. This is part of the programming. I always talk about programming, things that we just all spout out like fucking idiots without any real research. Nickelback is the worst band ever. Oh, shut the fuck up. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Okay, it wasn't even released at Christmas time. Stupid program stuff. One of those things is going on social media now, and it's, I walked into a Target and they had Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas stuff already. You're so original and funny. I've never heard anybody complain about Christmas and shit being rolled out. It's just tiring. Stop it. I personally enjoy it. I love the Christmas season. Who doesn't love the Christmas season? You know who doesn't love the Christmas season? Dickheads. That's right. Don't be a dickhead. I'm just not ready. Yeah, well, you know who is? The American financial markets. They are. They're ready. We're in a shit economy. Stop complaining about trying to get things started a little bit early, huh? Holy crap. I don't care about that shit. I haven't even had my pumpkin latte and I already saw a Christmas tree at Target. Oh, stop it. You sound silly. It's programming. However, 109 days until New Year's. 109 days till New Year's. That's 102 days until Christmas. It seems like it was just yesterday when they were like, it's only 100 days until the election. And I thought, well, that sounds like forever. And now I sit here and I'm like, holy fuck, there's only like 40-something days, 50 days till the election. 102 days until Christmas is not that far off. Man, especially the way we live our lives, how everything is a routine and weeks turn into months. And oh my God, it's already Christmas time. I love it. I'm going to start doing Christmas shows. That's it. Next Monday, we are going to kick off Christmas shows. Why? Because we believe in America and we want to help the economy. Let's do the first of 4 segments that make up this show. The first one is called Antecedently on This Day, and it's nothing more than this day in history. Here we go. Antecedently on this day. All right. Or previously on. Speaking of previously on. Now would be a good time to let you guys know where I am in my Sons of Anarchy re-binge. Yeah, I remember a couple of weeks ago when everybody was talking about the Hells Angels going to Aurora, and I was hearing like all kinds of talk about what the Hells Angels do, and I'm going in my head. I used to be a big fan of Sons of Anarchy. I learned a lot about MC culture and MC rules, and I don't know that you can just drive from Northern. So anyway, I decided that I would start watching. I would watch the pilot episode of Sons of Anarchy because I believed that there was some kind of explanation as to what this was all about. Anyway, so I'm watching the pilot episode, and look at this. Here we go. It's such a great show. I I'm on the verge of season 3 this weekend. I hope to get to season 3 this weekend. I'm in season 2. Here's where I am for those of us who have already seen Sons of Anarchy. Where are we at? He's going up against Henry Rollins. Remember Henry Rollins when he was on Sons of Anarchy? He played Weston. Weston was the henchman, the top knuckle breaker for the neo-Nazi Zobel, who was played by Adam Arkin. Adam Arkin in a suit. He was like the leader of the white Aryan nation or whatever. That's where I am. Sons of Anarchy. By the way, they just had a show. I'm going to move on, but the entire reason that we are told that the Sons, or Sam Crow, that the whole reason we're told that Sam Crow is allowed to exist peacefully in this town of Charming is because they have a deal with the police department where nobody and there will fuck with Charming. There will be no violence in Charming. That's the deal. This show is about nothing but these dumbass bikers failing at their pledge to keep Charming safe, because there have been like 40 murders in this town of like 80 people in the last 3 episodes. So crazy stupid. It's so stupid and yet so well done. Kurt Sutter is such a great writer of dialogue. Kurt Sutter knows how to write dirtbag conversations as well as anybody. He's up there with David Chase from The Sopranos. Kurt Sutter was great at doing that on The Shield. So, I mean, the writing is just so spectacular, even if the premise is a bit far-fetched. The writing is great. All right, so there I am. All right, let's do Antecedently on This Day, or Previously On. Antecedently on this day in 1948, Margaret Chase Smith is elected U.S. Senator and becomes the first woman to serve in both the U.S. House of Representatives and the United States Senate. Okay, good for her. Again, we have a whole bunch of female senators now. It's not a thing anymore. Let's just make sure that we remember that she was the first, but we don't need to celebrate her from doing anything great because we don't know what the fuck she did when she was in there. Just because she was the first of something that is now commonplace. See, this is my Lindbergh rant. Lindbergh, he's a hero. He flew the Atlantic. I've flown the Atlantic like 10 times. Why is he a fucking hero? Because he did it first? Because it's impossible to do. Hey, guess what? Wasn't impossible to do. Was not impossible to do. Wasn't even that impressive. It took him so long. All right. Antecedently on this day in 1953, Nikita Khrushchev is appointed General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. Khrushchev was a big player throughout most of the early goings of the Cold War. Khrushchev and Kennedy established that line of dialogue that hadn't existed previously between the White House and the Kremlin. Khrushchev famously banged his shoe on the table at the UN, denouncing American aggression. Khrushchev, that's it. I got it. Preceded by Stalin, succeeded by Brezhnev. That's all I got. That's all I got for you on Nikita Khrushchev. Antecedently on this day in 1962, an appeals court orders the University of Mississippi to admit James Meredith, the first African-American student admitted to the segregated university. Think about that, 1962. It took an appeals court. It took an appeals court. This kid thinks that he should be educated. And I don't know, some people say that in America, he has a right to be educated. And the first court went, no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Took an appeals court to get James Meredith admitted to college in 1962. Now all it takes is a tremendous 40 time. On this day, antecedently... Fuck. I just fucked up my screen, guys. I'm sorry. This is going to be... I'm such an idiot. On this day, in 1985, there's a lot of talk, typically in film, oftentimes in music too, with bands who have a really big album, and there's a lot of talk about the follow-up, how the follow-up is never better than the original. Films is probably where we see that most. No sequels are better than the original, except for, of course, Godfather 2, a lot of people think is better than the original. I do not. I don't think Godfather 2 is like the third best. I think the new Godfather 3 is now better than Godfather 2. I didn't like Godfather 2. It was too much in Italy. Too many subtitles. Anyway, some people argue that Star Wars sequels are better than the original. A lot of these things. We hear this a lot. Where we don't hear it much, or maybe we do, and I'm just not privy to these conversations because of, the age gap and all that, but do we hear it in video games? Because it was on this day in 1985 that a video game was released that was a sequel to another incredibly popular video game. But now we don't even remember the original. The sequel, released on this day in 1985, has far eclipsed the original. The original blockbuster, the original global phenomena that preceded it. It's not like the original was nothing. So we see this in video games, I guess, as well. And here's an example of a sequel being better than the original on this day in 1985. Super Mario Brothers was released. Mario Brothers, the Mario Brothers, you know what? This is kind of like Hamilton. Like, I get mad at Alexander Hamilton, because all of a sudden they're acting like he was like one of the most important founding fathers when that flies in the face of my public school education from the 70s and 80s. He was an afterthought. He was a cabinet member, and now all of a sudden there's a hip-hop musical, and I got my 15-year-old thinking he's up there with George Washington. No, he's not. He's Alexander fucking Hamilton. He's just... That's what the Mario Brothers were in Donkey Kong. That was about the monkey. They were just like side guys. They were like not even that well, I guess we played with one, right? Wasn't that the star? All right, never mind. I got to rethink that. On this day in 1985, Super Mario Brothers was released. On this day in 1993, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin shakes hands with Palestinian Liberation Organization Chairman Yasser Arafat at the White House after the Oslo Accords are signed. Ladies and gentlemen, on this day in 1993, we achieved peace in the Middle East. We sure did. It's been fucking great ever since. The Palestinians and the Israelis, they're thick as thieves now. Anyway, on this day in 1993. All right, let's move into quarter two. Quarter two is birthdays. We talk about people who were born on this day, and we decide, are they cool or do they suck? Born on this day First of all, let me just say this. Crazy. I've left so much on the table here. There's a lot of people that I had originally in the rundown, and I'm like, there can't be 17 people in birthdays, so I had to get rid of a whole bunch of people. Some of them I had great stories about. Anyway. You don't need my narcissistic stories about past glories. Is there anything sadder? What did Tony Soprano say? Tony Soprano's famous quote, the lowest form of conversation is remember when? I agree. So they didn't make the show. But holy shit, man, it is a musical birthday list. Ray Charles, born on this day in 1918. Ray Charles. Tell me what I say. Unfunny people in social gatherings, if Ray Charles comes up, may say something like, yeah, I don't even think he's blind. I'm funny. They do that with Stevie Wonder too. Shut the fuck up. I don't think he's blind. That might have been funny. You know when that was funny? The first time somebody said it. Because it was an absurd notion and you had to laugh at the absurdity of it. But saying it all the time now, anytime Stevie Wonder or Ray Charles are mentioned, I don't think he's blind. It makes you sound like a fucking idiot. It's like a guy in 2024 that, is still doing, what's up? It's like, it just makes you're an idiot. Stop it. Or guys in bars that still do. I don't even know if this is a thing. God, I hope it isn't. Actually, I know that it is because I've seen some awkward divorced men do the whole, hey man, 30 years ago, I used to be able to do a killer Austin Powers and try and whip an Austin Powers imitation out in a bar in 2024. That's just fucking embarrassing. Anyway, Ray Charles, awesome. Happy birthday. Born on this day in 1918. Born on this day in 1941. Here's another one of them dudes. This guy is awesome as well. 1941, English/Canadian singer-songwriter David Clayton Thomas. David Clayton Thomas. You want to hear about an underappreciated band? You want to dip in? You like Spotify? Are you paying for Spotify? And sometimes you go, why the fuck am I paying for Spotify? When you hear a cool band that was very popular for a period of time, but then just kind of mostly because of David Clayton Thomas, because he's so cool. Check out Blood, Sweat, and Tears. But I'm serious. Like by a 20, my son has heard some Blood, Sweat, and Tears because I got a cool playlist on my Spotify, and we share a Spotify. And sometimes when we're driving around, he'll put on songs, and sometimes he put on David Clayton Thomas's incredibly cool vocal from Blood, Sweat, and Tears. What goes up must come down. Spinning wheel. That band, man, I'm telling you. When you hear, because there's a lot of Blood, Sweat, and Tears songs that I've heard in the last couple of years since, discovering them on Spotify. I mean, I remember them from being a kid, and I remember them being a band in the 70s. And I remember, as a teenager, David Clayton Thomas, and touring and hearing his name and not really knowing anything about him. They're cool, man. They're a cool band. You make me so very happy. I'm so glad you came into my life. Oh, man, it is such cool music because of where it sits in the American popular music canon. It sits directly in between the era of the loud singing, big, powerful brass section and rock and roll. Is so cool. I love that specific genre of American rock. I'm telling you, one of the reasons that I was completely drawn to the E Street Band, Bruce Springsteen's band, is because of the presence of that dominant saxophone. I love that genre. It's a very small subgenre. Those bands from 1967 through 1975 that were still utilizing big brass and just cool, man. All right, David Clayton Thomas, born on this day in 1941, born on this day in 1944. Here we go. Hold me now. I really want to tell you I'm sorry. Peter Cetera. That's why I love Chicago. Now, I'm very complicated in my love of Chicago, which is the band Chicago, which is just unquestioned. But there are two eras of Chicago. There is the era of Peter Cetera that I think achieved huge success with really over-the-top, super-produced 1980s American pop rock radio standards. All right? Can we? That was Peter Cetera leading Chicago. But before that, man, they were a rock band. They were a rock band. They had one of the best guitarists in all of rock and roll who was singing and killing it. Oh, man. Anyway, I don't hate Peter Cetera for what he did. His voice is incredible, and after a tragedy befell that band with the suicide, it was him who held it together. So good, whatever. He did make him a little soft. Terry Kath was, of course, the genius who put Chicago together, and all of the really cool, early Chicago shit, 71, 72, with the crazy guitar, 25 or 6 to 4, bam, 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 that shit when they were that was all Terry Kath. He blew his head off. And then Peter Cetera took over, and they panicked, and they went, we need hits! And they just started cranking out these Air Supply-esque arena rock hits. And yeah, good for them, whatever. But, hey, man, I'll still listen to that shit. I've seen the band Chicago probably 10 times. I love them. Anytime they come through, I will go see them. Those guys are master musicians. Peter Cetera, born on this day in 1944. See, I told you, very musical. We've got David Clayton Thomas, Ray Charles, and now Peter Cetera. All right, let's take a break from this. Take a break from the music, people. Although I understand this woman is an incredible singer too. She is one of my all-time favorites. She is quickly, if not already there, and she very well may be. You know how I describe You know how I described Catherine O'Hara as a national treasure? Well, that's wrong. Because I think Dolly Parton is a national treasure, right? Right. Catherine O'Hara's Canadian. She's a North American treasure. Catherine O'Hara. But somebody who I put very much in the same category as Catherine O'Hara is having a birthday today, and that is the incredible Jean Smart. Jean Smart. She's a fucking baller of an actress, man. I know, the chick from Designing Women. I'm like, yeah, 30 years ago. Yeah, that's where she started. She started on a sitcom, Designing Women. But you know what? So did Tom Hanks. So did George Clooney. Jean Smart is fucking amazing. I don't know, where would we know her from recently? Well, Hacks, right? She's the star of Hacks, the new HBO Max series that is based on the later life of Joan Rivers. Hacks is great. She's winning all kinds of awards, and she's finally being considered. You know, when you win awards at the age that Jean Smart is, it forces people to go, huh, she is good. And then you go back and you look at her body of work, and then you really ask, why is she just getting awards now? She did a season arc on Fargo, which is an FX series. It's one of the best television series that has ever been made. She played the villain for an entire season of the anthology series Fargo. She played a Ma Barker type. All the episodes of Fargo are about crime, typically organized crime, and how it resides in rural America. And she was a Ma Barker. She was in charge she had a bunch of boys who were running basically mafia style extortion and illegal trucking and all that shit. Jean Smart is a badass woman. And I don't think I ever saw her in Designing Women. I don't think I ever saw that show. But I know that that's where she came from. Born on this day in 1951, the incredible Jean Smart. Born on this day in 1961, Dave Mustaine. What's the deal with him? I'm not a metal nerd. I'm not a Star Wars nerd. He was in Metallica, right? Right? He was in Metallica, and he's really good. He's like, that dude, Dave Mustaine from Metallica is awesome. And then Metallica went, get out, because he was a drunk, right? Dude, I'm using behind the music info from like 25 years ago. Because he was a druggie, so he got kicked out of Metallica, and then he just, sobers up one day and forms Megadeth. Not too bad. Now, that begs the question. Is it cooler to be Dave Mustaine from Megadeth or the guitar player in Metallica? I think the guitar player in Metallica has way more money than Dave Mustaine. Especially like an original, like had he I guess the question is, had Dave Mustaine stayed in Metallica for the past 35 years, 40 years, whatever it's been now, would he be worth more? I think there's no question. He'd have that sleep with one eye open money that he doesn't have currently. There's a lot of Metallica money that came in the 90s that I don't think he was privy to. Peter says Dave Mustaine is hard to get along with. Yeah, that was, I meant to sort of have that be implied by the fact that he was a belligerent drunk and druggie and they kicked him out. But yeah, he seems like that. He's always seemed kind of, he's like the redheaded, everybody's always picked on me and now I'm mad kind of vibe. That's always been his energy. Dave Mustaine, born on this day in 1961, born on this day in 1967, another one from the rock and roll world. We talked about how this was going to be heavy with musicians. How about Tim Ripper Owens? Tim Ripper Owens. He lived our dream. He lived everybody's dream. Tim Ripper Owens is the guy who became the new lead singer of Judas Priest when, what's his name? Rob Halford got kicked out for being gay. I don't know that that's why he got kicked out. I don't even know that he got kicked out. I'm just, like I said, time has passed. I haven't looked it up. But Judas Priest went, we can hold a open casting call or whatever for our new lead singer. And some dude, Tim Ripper Owens, right? Isn't this him? He won. And he went from being like, I was, I don't know, driving Uber. Well, they didn't do that back in the 90s. But he went from like, I was working at a construction site. And now I'm the new singer for Judas Priest. That's pretty awesome. It's the basis for that movie Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg. They just had to American it up because is Tim Ripper Owens American or is he? He is American, isn't he? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Happy birthday, Tim Ripper Owens. Born on this day in 1967. The other day, yesterday, as a matter of fact, we paid homage to the world's greatest drummer. No one's ever going to be better than him. He's a space alien. His name is Neil Peart. I didn't mention any of the other current drummers who are, incredibly good, incredibly gifted. But drumming's a different thing, man. You ask any musician, there are different kinds of drummers, right? Like, guys are really good at one thing. Neil Peart was good at it all, though. Neil Peart was really good. Anyway, there are other guys that are like just really good master musicians at the drums. Jimmy Chamberlain, very well, Travis Barker, very well regarded. Tommy Lee, even, although, I don't know because I don't really, but, I've heard named Tommy Lee is one of the greats. Okay. This guy doesn't get the love that I think he should as a drummer. Stephen Perkins. It's Stephen Perkins' birthday. American drummer, songwriter. Jane's Addiction, Porno for Pyros, and then is just like played as like a studio guy for just about everybody that wants really competent modern drumming. Stephen Perkins. Happy birthday to him. Born on this day in 1967. Born on this day in 1969, Tyler Perry. Let's talk about Tyler Perry for a minute. Because, you know me, I like to fucks with the people who are political, and I like to, dip a toe in the culture wars just to kind of create a little wave and then step away back on shore and watch all the ducks fight it out. I don't know. That metaphor ran into a dead end. I didn't know where to go with it. Tyler Perry is a darling of the left, right? And specifically the urban left. He's a darling of the progressive, open-minded, yet traditionally his films are traditionally depicting African American culture and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's his brand. It's good. It's wholesome. Made him a billionaire. How come nobody talks about how this dude's been like cashing huge checks by dressing in drag as a straight man, sort of? Here's why I ask. Will Ferrell has a new documentary where a friend of Will Ferrell's, who was also a head writer at Saturday Night Live, and I am a Saturday Night Live historian. I have never heard of this dude before, this person. So Will Ferrell and this former head writer for Saturday Night Live, they've been friends for all of these years. And one day Will Ferrell gets a phone call from his friend, and his friend says, "Hey, Will, I just want you to know I'm transitioning to a woman, blah, blah, blah. I love you. You're my friend. I want you to know." Beautiful thing. And Will Ferrell, because he's a cool guy, he's like, "Fuck, that's kind of interesting. I have questions, but okay, so we're doing this, huh? Because we're friends, and we're friends for other reasons, and So Will Ferrell did that. Will Ferrell took it a step further. Will Ferrell is like, let's make a movie. Let's make a documentary. So Will Ferrell made a documentary where he and his like trans friend drives across country. I don't know. I don't want to see it. It doesn't look interesting to me. It's So Will Ferrell's doing publicity for this new documentary. And he was asked the other day, and we talked about this, about how he is now disavowing himself from playing Janet Reno in the 90s. He thinks that it's wrong for a man to be dressing as a woman. It was regrettable. He regrets the choice. And I was a little bit upset with that, because what he's doing is he is now taking away all of the cover for the people, his fans, the people that enjoyed those bits. He enjoyed those bits in the moment. He enjoyed doing them. We enjoyed watching him. That was a thing between us. And now he's coming out saying, "I wouldn't have done that." Now that makes me, and I'm going to speak for myself, but I can't imagine I'm alone. That makes me feel like, oh, so I'm an asshole? I'm an asshole for thinking that's what he should have done. What Will Ferrell should have done was, humor is humor, man. I mean, we were laughing about Janet Reno's antics, and the facts are that Janet Reno is a big woman, and we thought it would be humorous to have a big man play her, to amplify the comedic effect, and we did it. I don't think when Will Ferrell was portraying Janet Reno, he was going, let's fuck with fags who like to dress like bitches. That wasn't the attitude. Yet that's now how we're supposed to look at it. And if that's how it was presented back then, I certainly wouldn't have laughed at it. But it wasn't presented in a way that mocked anyone other than someone who was very deserving of mocking, Janet Reno. So it upsets me now when Will Ferrell, all these years later, acts above it all like we're the ones that are assholes, okay? I certainly have a different view of it now. You know why? Because people change. They evolve. The world changes. The world presents new information over time. Some will hold that against you and go, you flip-flopped. And it's not flip-flopping. I've changed. I see the world differently now. And that's a good thing, man. That's a good thing. But he didn't. It was bad, and he made it sound bad, and he wouldn't do it again. And so, screw that. I was very disappointed in Will Ferrell for that. So I'm wondering, as we've established about Tyler Perry on his birthday, why has nobody ever called out Tyler Perry? Now, the right and MAGA and all those lunatics over there will go, because he's black. They might be right. They might be right. This might be a glaring example of him being protected because he is black, whereas other people are being canceled, or Will Ferrell is apologizing and trying to head off a cancel thing at the Why have we never heard any criticism of Tyler Perry and how he's made his $1 billion? Again, I don't take sides. I'm not right. I'm not left. I'm just observing this. And I'm telling you, the people are like, it's because he's black. I think they're right. They're right. He is being given a pass for a cultural transgression that enriched him greatly simply because he's black. Call them reparations. That's fine. If this is the form of reparations. Okay. All right. Good for him. Tyler Perry, dressed like a woman, made $1 billion. Nobody cares. Will Ferrell played Janet Reno on Saturday Night Live for like 3 bits, and he's got to apologize and make us all feel like assholes. Born on this day in 1969, Tyler Perry. Born on this day in 1977, Fiona Apple. Fiona Apple was funny. Well, Fiona Apple, 77, so 8. So what was she like? When did Fiona Apple? Up in a bad girl. When was that? Like 97? Somewhere in there? I don't know. I was working at alternative radio. I was working at one of the most powerful alternative radio stations in America, and there was great debate. I was working with the music director at the time. And it was a position of power. It's funny to think because now as an adult looking back, I was only like 26, 27 years old, and I was instrumental in deciding what was being played on one of America's 3 alternative rock stations. There were only 3. There was New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. And then, they became hugely popular with the rise of grunge and all of that. And then we had them all over the place. But I was a kid. And I'm sitting in there and I'm like, I love it. We should play this. I like this song. Take these home. They want us to play them. Tell me if any of these songs are good. This song is good. That's a wild amount of power for a kid. And I don't even know that I realized it at the time. But I remember Fiona Apple. I remember when we had a whole presentation from the record company. Here's how it would work. The record company would come in typically with a whole spread for lunch. They'd bring lunch for the entire radio station. Seriously, you go in the conference room and there'd be like 2 20-foot long sandwiches, just crazy food and all that kind of stuff, because they're trying to get you to play their music, so they want to be nice. So I remember this, and we're sitting here, and they had a whole presentation about this new act, Fiona Apple. And they wanted to break her, obviously, in New York, Chicago, and LA on these 3 alternative stations. They wanted to brand her as an alternative artist, one of the first. Oh, there were a lot that were branded as original alternative artists, and then they just went nowhere. Y'all remember Chumbawamba? They really pushed Chumbawamba. I get knocked down, but I get up again, and ain't never gonna knock me down. And then they came with their second album, and the entire alternative radio industry was like, pass. We're going to pass on Chumbawamba too. But Fiona Apple was like that. They were really pushing her. And they played us the video for Up in a Bad Girl. And I remember the music director at the time, like 15 seconds into it, going, Is this a video or is this child porn from your private catalog? We all laughed. She was controversial, is my point, Fiona Apple. She was very controversial. We played her because the song was incredible. But man, oh man, here's why. They knew what they were doing. The record company knew what they were doing with her. They presented her as an ingenue, as a Lolita. They presented her as an underage, sexually promiscuous girl. I don't believe she was underage. I think like she was 18 or over, but they presented her like a 14-year-old or a 13-year-old, and it was really creepy. I was normal. I mean, I was like in my mid-20s, so I was 25, 26, 20, something like that in there. And I remember going, that makes me feel uncomfortable. But that's also powerful. And it was okay back then. It was okay for MTV to play that video. Could you imagine trying to play those first, and made her a star. Fiona Apple, born on this day in 1977. All right, let's do dead people. Quarter 3. These are the people who've died. These are the people who've died. Dead people, dead on this day. Did they go to heaven or did they go to hell? How about dead on this day in 1996? They're still unsolved, I think. They got a guy, right? They got a guy now. Tupac Shakur, ladies and gentlemen. I'm putting Tupac in heaven because I like him, and I will not be taking any questions. Tupac goes to heaven. All right, there you go. Dead on this. Oh boy, here's another one. Okay, dead on this day in 2006. I'm not allowed to have an opinion on this one. I got to do this for my girl. Dead on this day in 2006. Ann Richards. Democrat, ball-busting, Texas hardcore chick that American fell in love with. I don't know if Texans fell in love with her, but I can tell you she was very popular all around the country. Ann Richards, former governor of Texas, died on this day. She's going to heaven, and there are no questions about it. She's going to heaven because she was a personal hero of my former partner, Kelly. Kelly fucking loved Ann Richards. Oh, my God. So Ann Richards gets to go to heaven because I'm sure that's where Kelly is. Although, no, fuck that. Kelly's definitely in heaven. She is definitely in heaven. I was just trying to be funny. Because, she was a fucking pain in the ass a lot. Hey, Larry, let's keep going. Ann Richards, she's going to heaven. There you go. Dead on this day in 2015, a guy I didn't even know was dead until I saw this morning. Moses Malone, ladies and gentlemen. NBA player Moses Malone. He's going to hell. He's going to hell. No question. No question. Here's why. I used to produce a Bulls postgame show with Norm Van Leer. Norm Van Leer was an NBA player in the 1970s, and that was in the days when they were rarely not fucking stoned or on coke or whatever. I mean, I've heard the stories about those days, especially the ABA days. So Moses Malone is definitely, probably, I'm certain, in heaven. Although he was a cool-ass basketball player. Dead on this day, year of our Lord, 2019. Another guy, I'm going to put him in heaven. Eddie Money. She got 2 tickets to paradise. Come on, Eddie Money. Come on. She was shaking. Whoa. Snapping her fingers. Whoa. We loved Eddie Money. Eddie Money used to play the festival circuit every year, and he would come in and he would hang out with us, and he was just such a lovely, lovely guy. Eddie Money. Oh, this is going to make me tear up. You know how like radio shows would have celebrities come in and then they would do rejoins like, hey, this is so-and-so and you're listening to my favorite, those kind of things. So those things typically take place directly after the guest has ended his segment. The guest will walk out the studio door and there will be a producer waiting for him. In our case, it was always Eric. There was a producer waiting. Mr. Money, can I get you to cut something here? And they'd walk into another studio right across the hall. Eddie Money cut one of the funniest ones, and we don't know why it was funny, but it was just so... You guys, some of you who are fans of the old Pugs and Kelly show will probably remember the one because he used to crack us up every time they played it. We just crack up, and there's no reason for it to be funny. I'm building it. It's a memory. I'm sorry. My partner died, and it's just a memory, and now I'm going down a tangent. So I apologize. But it was just, hey, this is Eddie Money. He just sounded so. He sounded so, hey, this is Eddie Money, and you're listening to the Pugs and Kelly show. I mean, it sounded so funny to us. His energy was a little bit off and a little bit weird, a little bit over the top, but also just the fact that he's a nice, warm guy was still coming through. It was just lovely. Hey, this is Eddie Money. Hey, this is Eddie Money. Is this Eddie Money? That's what we used to. It became a joke. Like if somebody would go, do you know who this is? Like someone in our crew would go, hey, is that Eddie Money? Like it became a joke, an inside joke. All right, that's going to do it, folks. That's it. Those are the first 3 quarters of the rant. One more time, I want to thank our executive producer of the show, the great Chris C. Thank you, Chris. That's fucking baller of you. Thank you. I appreciate it. If you want to tip the show and be the big executive producer on Monday, I'd say drop a little something, either in the Venmo or the Cash App. For 3 years, that's how this show has operated with your gratuities. So thank you. Let's not stop that now. Let's get into all the things. What did I do? Fuck, I fucked up my screen. There we go. Very, very, very nice. See what I did there? That was kind of a callback joke, although I fucked it up. Because remember earlier when I said there's nothing less funny than a guy still doing Austin Powers in bars? Well, that applies also to Borat. Don't do Borat. Although my son now does that all the time. My 15-year-old son walks around, Plano, Texas going, very nice, because I recently introduced him to Borat, who he finds hysterical. And of course he does, because we've just seen it before. So the magic of seeing Borat for the very first time and figuring out what's going on is pretty cool for a 50. Very nice, my wife. But don't, if you're like a grown up, don't sidle up to like a 30-year-old woman at a bar and go, very nice. Don't. It's not going to work out for you. I promise. I promise. All right, let's get into the big news of the day. All right, so we started doing the show, and I didn't see this announcement. I guess there was a press conference, but I'll just give you a little bit of the info that I had before we signed on. The Russian interference case, Tenet Media out there in Tennessee was apparently receiving $12 million annually from RT, which is an arm of the Russian intelligence and misinformation apparatus. Anyway, doesn't matter. Tenet Media went away. I would like to say I've given this much consideration, because remember when it first happened and I was on my soapbox and I'm like, these guys benefited from anti-American. I was like that guy. And now I'm like, dude, seriously though. I mean, look, Russians, I'll talk to you. We can have a meeting. Let's have a meeting. Let's see how much you're willing to give me and how much I'm willing to advocate for positions that maybe I don't feel fully committed to. I'm just saying, let's talk. Let's talk, Kremlin. I make my Venmo and my Cash App very public. You want to drop something to get my attention and then leave a secret code or an email address in the Venmo note? You can do that. Anyway, Russian interference is going to some new information. Here's what I have. The Biden administration will reveal RT as playing a key role in Russia's global propaganda operation. They will also announce the launching of a global multi-nation diplomatic campaign and sharing of evidence program. So all the countries that like us, right? I don't think Iran's involved in this, but France, Germany, you're Australia, so we're all going to get together and we're going to share examples or things that we have in our country that we feel is Russian interference. Because honestly, that it's understand there are other countries in the world other than us, and other countries are also and have been complaining for quite some time about Russian interference in their elections. It's not just us. Russia is trying to push their ideology all over the world. And if they can upset an election in, say, like Australia, and now all of a sudden it looks like Australia is adopting more Russian views, what does that do for the solidarity of the rest of these Western American, loyal nation? It's destabilization. Destabilization. That's all it is. It's destabilization. I don't know what you're doing. Dude, it's a natural. We try and do it too. We try and do it over there, but we have to talk about what's being done to us. And that's kind of what this is all about. So we're going to find out more. I mean, I don't want to get into it. You people believe what you want to believe, but I'm telling you, of course it's happening. Of course it's real. Of course it's a priority in the Putin regime. Putin came from the KGB. Putin came from that world. That's what he knows. Their top spy guy was put in charge of the country for the last 25 years. And oh yeah, he misses the old Soviet days of Russian imperialism where they ruled over half the world. That's what Putin's life goal is. I say this over and over. So of course there is a very elaborate global misinformation and propaganda campaign project. Of course there is. And it's just being talked about now. Stop acting like it's not. You want to hear about ours? Well, they won't tell you, but maybe Russia will tell you about ours. I'm sure we're doing it too. Just stop acting like they're not. You're just showing how ignorant you are to the way that the modern world is. But I didn't change my mind. Okay, good. Okay, very good. They didn't change your mind. Good. That's you. That's you. Thank you for being strong. But I think they might have changed your mind. I'm just saying, you don't even know what happened. You don't even know. So that's it. So the Russian interference thing. At the end of the show, I'm very interested in this story because, again, hey, Russia, if you're looking to drop a few checks, my Venmo and Cash App is up there right now. Like I said, we can talk. I'll talk. What else do we have? Other big news. Trump ain't going to debate Kamala. We knew that wasn't going to happen. Trump ain't going to do it again. Why would you? He says he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it because he won the first two, and he's so successful at it. Why would he do it again? What? What? Well, that's a reason to do it again. That's not a reason. It's like, I'm so good at it. Why would I do it again? It's because that black lady on a bus kicked the fuck out of you, old man. That's what happened. That's what happened. You don't want to do it again. Let's see here. Latest polls, CNN, they released this morning. 54-24 is the poll of polls. That's a whole bunch of different polls and sources that said, who won the debate? 54-24 is their poll of polls that CNN released. 54 Kamala Harris, 24 Donald Trump. I mean, he got beat. That's okay. It's not a surprise. I don't like Trump, but I'm not like dancing about it. I've been telling you for weeks that this is a different kind of opponent. He doesn't know how to fuck with her. He doesn't know how to get to her the way he knows how to get a guy that, he went to Wharton with. He doesn't know how to get to her. He knows that he can fuck with that guy about his golf game. He knows that he can fuck with that guy about his second wife. He knows that he can fuck with that guy about his drug addict kid. Trump knows how to fuck with the people that he's needed to fuck with to get to where he is in the world. I don't think he knows how to fuck with a black lady with a college education. It doesn't work for him. I just don't. It's a different thing. I hear your son didn't make the golf team. He can't say that to Kamala. He doesn't know where to go. I mean, the only thing he can go with Kamala is, can I touch your hair? Yeah. I'm telling you, this isn't like, oh, he just hates Trump. No, this is just an observation of the kind of human being that he is in the insulated life in New York City. We lived in New York. What are you talking about? He doesn't know black people. This dude has walked from doors being held open by doormen into limousines in New York City for the past 80 years. Stop acting like this dude has ever gone grocery shopping. Trump has never gone grocery shopping. Stop acting like he's a blue-collar billionaire. Oh, fuck you. Fuck you. Fred Trump was, they didn't have billionaires back then because, the economy was smaller, but whatever. He was whatever a billionaire is today back then. That's where Donald came from. He doesn't know how to fight with a black girl. He doesn't. And here's how I know that he doesn't know how to fight with a black girl. Trust me, white kid, grew up on the south side of Chicago. Here's how you fight with a black girl. You fucking don't. You don't. You don't. You get away from it. They're going to be irrational. They're going to start screaming. It's all about volume and all. You can't. The only way to stop that as a white guy, and then this is, city bus. The only way to stop that is to use your physical dominance, and you can't do that. Oh, don't touch them. Don't touch them because, oh, God, then all the other ones, oh, my God. Black girls are scary, and they're tough. That's all I'm saying. Much respect. Much respect. That's not disrespectful. Like I said, I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I know a shit ton of black women. They are badasses, and they love to fuck with white men. White men that don't hold any sway over their paychecks. They fucking love it. Look at you, fat, stupid white man. I mean, they will go after you in a way that nobody has ever gone after Trump. In a way, Trump kind of attacks other Republicans. If you remember how he went after Marco Rubio and all them, Trump kind of goes after them in the same style that a black girl on a city bus might go after a white security guard. It's just fucking mean. Just like mean and hurtful shit. He doesn't know how to do that. No slight on him. We should all be so lucky as to never have to take a city bus. But hey, just telling you, it does teach you a few things. Kamala says about the won't debate. Kamala says, I think the American people deserve to see us debate again. I have a lot more to say to him. That's the confidence of a woman who's like, yeah, let's do it again. Yeah, you're right, Donald. You won. You won both of them. Oh, you crushed me last time. Let's do it again. Come on. It should be easy for you. That's the confidence there. Trump says he's not going to do the debate because we've done 2 debates, and because they were all so successful for us, we're not going to do a third. That's gaslighting. He's saying something that obviously doesn't make sense, but you're like, he said it, and he said it confidently. Because that's what you do. When you're successful 2 times in a row, you never do it a third time. Because why would you? You're successful. That's stupid. It's easy for him then. It's easy. Why wouldn't he do it? He won. He looks better. Man, I'll go do it. I'll look better. What is he being magnanimous? I'm not going to do it because I don't want to kick her ass again. Is that the take? Is that the take? Because now we have cognitive decline issues to talk about. If that is legitimately his take, we have to talk about him being delusional. I want to see him debate again. I'm telling you, I'm going to give her one more chance to come out with like long, elaborate zebra and cheetah printed press-on nails. Big, crazy hair. I want her to have a big hairdo that tilts to the side, so that he's distracted by it. Maybe she can put some baubles in there. Oh, she can put like a flag of Africa pin in there. Oh, that would be so great. He would fucking lose it. She also ought to come out with like shopping bags. Like she's on like a woman on the bus, like a black lady on the bus. Shopping bags, just put them down. By the way, that was something that I failed to mention because there was so much stupid shit that we saw in that debate. Baller power boardroom move from Kamala in the very beginning. She charged across the stage, extended her hand, said, I'm Kamala Harris. Nice to meet you. Looked him dead in the eye. That was a power move. That threw him off. He was a little bit, nice to meet you too. I mean, he held himself fine. He was fine, but he wasn't expecting that. He wasn't. That was her going right up to him going, I am not afraid of you. That was a power move. That was a power chick move. All right, so they're not going to debate again. I didn't think we were going to get to see it anyway, but it would have been fun. Who knows? All right, let's talk about the big story from last night, okay? So this is the big story from last night, and we're going to spend a little time talking about it. We're going to watch some of this stuff. It was very interesting to me because yesterday I told you I went to my son's football game, his sophomore football game, and there was an injury. There was an injury on the field to a player from the other team, and it for a moment it looked like it was kind of serious. The collision was certainly an attention grabber. We all went, huh? And then one of them didn't get up, and we were like, oh my goodness, right? These are kids, 15-year-old kids playing a high octane sport, violent sport, football. We can do everything in our power to try and make it safe, but it's never going to be safe. I mean, the human body breaks. The human body is not designed to run a full speed. And some of these kids, and I have to tell you, these even at 15, 16 years old, which is the age group that my 15-year-old is playing in, 15 and 16-year-olds, a lot of these kids, especially Texas high school football players, they're sides of freaking beef. They are sides of beef. My kid is far stronger than I am. My kid plays offensive line, center. He's 6 foot tall, and he routinely goes against dudes who are like 6'3" on the nose, the nose players or whatever. He's going against guys that are 6'3" and like 270. I mean, big dudes. I mean, it's violent out there. It is violent. He was okay. The kid that got hurt, he was okay. He got up, he walked off. We all applauded, and he seemed fine. Don't remember if he entered the game. I wasn't paying that close attention. So then I go back and I watched last night's, again, they did it again. It makes no fucking sense, but hey, what in this world makes sense? They are willing to bend reality in order to fit a commercial marketing narrative. And that's what we had last night when we all watched NBC's Sunday Night Football on Thursday night. Even though there's a Thursday Night Football already in existence, this wasn't that, because this was No, it wasn't. That was Amazon Prime. All right, never mind. I saw an opportunity to rant about how stupid it is watching Sunday Night Football on Monday, because that's what we got the first week. The first week of football that was played, week 1 of football in the NFL that was played on Thursday night was not a Thursday night football game. It was a Sunday night football game on Thursday, which really angered me. See, that's what I mean. It made no sense, but they're like, we got to sell it. We sold a Sunday game, and we don't have a Sunday game that week, so you got to give us a week. So they got it on Thursday. They moved it around because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to play. My point is this: Sunday night football on Thursday night doesn't make sense. But they said, doesn't matter if it makes sense. We sold it anyway, so we need to do it. Doesn't make sense. Making us all stupider because you guys already, with Sunday night, we need 17 weeks of Sunday night, and we don't have one this week, so we need. So anyway, we were watching Prime. I like it on Prime. Here's what I like about watching it on Prime. I like that Prime offers you, if you all remember, like last night, I didn't get home. Kickoff had already started. I missed like the first half. So I come back home and I'm like, it's on Prime. So I go to Prime. Prime gives you the option of start from the beginning. Like you can just watch it now, or if, hey, you're running a little bit late, you don't want to miss any stuff. I love start from the beginning. I don't think Peacock offers that. Fucking Peacock. I don't think ESPN does either, but Prime does, and I like it. You want to start from the beginning? Yeah, Prime. Thank you, man. I figured I was just going to have to miss the first quarter. Oh, no, not with Prime. You have to miss the first quarter. You just start from the beginning. So I started it from the beginning, and then you know what you're allowed to do because I missed the whole first half? You're allowed to fast forward through commercials and timeouts and nonsense and coaches' challenges. You're allowed to just fast forward. It's wonderful. It's a really terrific viewing experience. Watching Thursday Night Football on Prime. So it was the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills kicked the crap out of the Miami Dolphins, but we're talking about Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback, fifth overall pick in 2020. Tua was, of course, an Alabama quarterback who had an incredible junior season, to the extent that him going into his senior season had bad teams in the NFL tanking for Tua. He was considered a generational superstar of the future coming out of Alabama. He got injured the year he stayed, and so that hurt his draft. Joe Burrow ended up going number 1 that year. He went 5. He went 5 to the Miami Dolphins. Problem with Tua is back in 2022, he had a number of it all started for Tua back in 2022 when he took a hit in a game and he came out of the game and the camera caught him on the sideline going through some kind of convulsions. He had been, and he came back in and he played And then the next week, like we all saw him having this reaction to whatever had happened. And we all went, that looks like his brain is on the fritz. And they went, no, he's fine. And he came back and he played the next week. Well, the next week he got hit hard and his body stiffened up on the ground. 2 examples of Tua Tagovailoa, not everybody, but specifically Tua Tagovailoa's brain not reacting well. I don't believe, I had never seen a player in the NFL go stiff like they had their finger in a wall socket. I had never seen that before, and I saw it 2 weeks in a row from Tua Tagovailoa back in 2022. So he's playing in the game last night. We know he's got this long history of injuries, concussions. I believe 3. I think going into the game last night, he had 3, probably 4. Because, look, I don't know how many concussions I had playing football from 3rd grade through high school. I don't know how many concussions I had. But I know I had a fucking lot. And then I had a car accident where I ripped the top of my head off. I'm pretty sure that caused a concussion. Fell down stairs once and like giant goose egg. I'm pretty sure that was a concussion. Hit my head so many times in football. I mean, I don't know how many concussions I had, but I do know I suffer from depression. And I do know that they do say that there are links to those kinds of things. So I often wonder about, and again, I didn't even play at an elite level. I played football at a suburban Chicago high school, and we weren't even good, and we just played for fun. But my head's been fucked up in a lot of other things, not, from being a lineman or a tight end or whatever it is they were playing me at that point. So I wonder about it. So when I saw Tua yesterday, Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback who we just talked about his long history of head injuries and how shocking the videos that you can find on YouTube about him suffering head injuries. He's a baller, man. He's a good football player. So let's watch the play. This is what happened to him last night. We've got the play. And it's disturbing, right? I mean, it's disturbing because it would be disturbing to see any player in the NFL have this situation, okay? Let's grant that this is a disturbing thing to see a human go through because we don't understand it. But it's extra disturbing because what we know he's already gone through. Here it is, Tua Tagovailoa, the Tua Tagovailoa injury from last night against the Buffalo Bills on Thursday.
You're down by 21 points, 4th and 4. Pressure. Tua steps up. He's going to run for the first down and takes a shot at the 6-yard line. Hamlin hit him.
All right, so we see that, right? We see that. I'll play it again. Of course I will. It also should be noted, and this is just, there is a God. He fucks with us. The person that Tua, the most fragile head in the NFL, collided with was Damar Hamlin, the guy with the most fragile chest in the NFL. And the guy with the most fragile head in the NFL collided with the chest of the most... How crazy is that? Damar Hamlin, remember, we watched him die. They canceled an entire game because Damar Hamlin got injured there for the Buffalo Bills against the Cincinnati Bengals. I believe that was another Thursday night football game. So how weird is it that we see this last night? We see Tua Tagovailoa, a guy who has freaked us out with injuries, and Damar Hamlin, a guy who the entire country was saying prayers for Damar Hamlin. That is so weird. That's why I say if there is a God, he fucks with us.
Tua takes a pressure. Tua steps up. He's going to run for the first down and takes a shot at the 6-yard line. Hamlin hit him and Tua down. Picked up the first, split the seam, but pays the price. You're down
One
by
more
21
time.
points, 4th and 4. Pressure. Tua steps up. He's going to run for the first down.
Right here.
And takes a shot.
Look at that. Look at that. He is not in control of what his body is doing here. That is a nervous system reaction to his brain going, like brain on the fritz. And it's horrifying to see. And I don't believe, as I said before, I don't believe I've ever seen that from anybody else in the NFL other than him a couple of times a few years ago. No applause for that. All right, so that's the big story concerning Tua Tagovailoa from yesterday. Now, there is obviously a conversation that's being had about this. Let me tell you a little bit about Tua Tagovailoa. As I said, I believe he was the 5th overall pick back in 2020. I think he probably signed a rookie deal around that time, probably a 4-year deal for about $30 million, something like that. Maybe 25. I don't know, probably, but I would put it between 25, 35 million. 2020, number 5 overall pick, Tua, history of injury. So he's been paid on that, okay? So Tua's been paid on that. He's good. He should have at least $30 million at 25 years old or whatever the hell he is, 26. So $30 million. So let's not worry about him. And then in July, was it this past July? I think it was this past July, he signed an extension, a new contract with the Miami Dolphins, where I believe $97 million of the contract he signed 2 months ago, $97 million is guaranteed, with another $40 million, I believe, was the signing bonus. So he's very wealthy. He is very wealthy. They can't take the guaranteed money. You can't take it away. That's why it's so strange. It's happening now in the NFL. We haven't seen it really to a big extent for years. For years, you didn't have the guaranteed money in the NFL because it was thought to be too dangerous of a sport where you can't give a guy guaranteed money and then he breaks his neck the next game. You can't. But we started doing guaranteed money for quarterbacks. That wall fell. So now we've got all of these guaranteed money. The Miami Dolphins just paid him a boatload. And I'm telling you, Tua Tagovailoa has to retire from the NFL. He must retire. If he cares about himself. Now, again, I'm going to play both sides of this, okay? Because I can see both sides. Maybe he doesn't have to retire. I mean, I'm the guy who believes that baseball ought to allow steroids because I love seeing 500-foot home runs. I don't give a shit. My feeling on baseball steroids has always been the information is out there. I want to see this sport played at the most elite level. If they can use chemicals, if modern science can make these freaks, these big acne-covered 800-foot home run, I want to see that. I don't care. They're grown men. It's no secret that that's probably bad for you, but they can make that choice if they want. You can make that choice. Shoot myself up with all kinds of anabolic steroids and whatever. That's fine. So that's always been my position on baseball. I don't give a fuck. I want to see big home runs. I wish we could go back to the days of the Bash Brothers. I wish we could go back to the days of Sammy Sosa. Just all juiced up. Sammy Sosa went from being tall and skinny and nicknamed the Little Panther to being one of the most roided out freaks in the history of baseball. I mean, we always talk about Barry Bonds and Bobby Bonilla as being good examples of people who transform. But, man, you Texans, maybe you remember when Sammy Sosa was with the Rangers, later with the White Sox. So I don't really care about steroids in baseball because I understand that these athletes know that it's a deal that they're making. The deal is they could become professional athletes and make a whole lot of money. But also, at 45, they might not be able to string a couple of sentences together. That's a deal, and I think people ought to be able to make those deals. This idea of we've got to make it safe for them. We don't have to make it safe for them. It's a dangerous sport. We know it's a dangerous sport. So there is that argument out there, and I don't know that about Tua. If Tua still wants to play, and I hope he doesn't, that would be my take. Dude, go in the booth. You see how bad Tom Brady is at it? You couldn't be that bad. Go in the booth, Tua. You're young. You probably got over $100 million. You're young. Good Lord, man. Enjoy the world. Start your next chapter before, and I'm telling you, I think with Tua, it might be too late. I think that when we see him go into that kind of thing, I think that's an indication that he is already going to be there. He is already going to see some sort of decline, maybe as early as his early 40s, late 30s. I would advise him, if I loved Tua Tagovailoa, to get the fuck out, man. You won the game of life. Look at that bag of money that you've got. Of course, Miami Dolphin fans, they might feel differently. They don't give a fuck. And that comes down to my other thing, right? If Tua is like, no, this is the life I've chosen. This is who I am. I am a Hawaiian warrior. I have the warrior spirit. He should be allowed to do it. So, but the talk and the conversation is, will the NFL get involved? He most certainly may never play again this season. That might be, this is now his third, and as I say, probably fourth concussion. But then again, we live in a world, I mean, my brain tells me responsible, decent people in a civilized society would all agree that maybe after what we've seen with his brain these past 3 times, maybe he ought to just sit down. That's what my reasonable, civilized society brain says. But we live in a fucking world where he could play Sunday. He could just, well, actually, he can't. I think he can't play Sunday because of concussion protocols. He could be back in 2 weeks. It was fine. Sometimes my brain does that. It's a horrifying story. It was so sad to see. It was, and then it was so weird when it was Damar Hamlin who actually was the guy that tackled him. I'm like, that motherfucker, he just drove his chest or his head, the fragilest thing in the NFL, to his head, into the second most fragile thing in the NFL, Damar Hamlin's chest. That's crazy. We're all part of the simulation. I guess that's what it is, right? Sometimes they drop little Easter eggs for us in the simulation, and that's one. We're supposed to go, I see what you did there. I like it. Thank you. Whatever. All right, there you go. So that's the Tua story. What else do we have? The GOP. The GOP is apparently the grand old party, the people in charge there. I think that's Donald Trump's daughter-in-law. I don't know which one. Let's call her Blanche. Blanche Trump is in charge of the GOP. The GOP is suing Nevada, demanding that Nevada only allow citizens to vote. They are going to sue the state. They are suing the state. They are suing the state of Nevada, demanding that they only let citizens vote. It's so weird that, like, I feel like I have to say this. I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say it because I don't want to hear stupid responses from people who I otherwise respect, and that'll distract me. Anyway, here's what's going on here. There is no reason to be suing Nevada because non-citizens can't vote. They can't vote in Nevada. They can't vote in any state. You can't vote unless you're a citizen. Now, they're not talking about other forms of, what do we call it? Election tampering and all that stuff. You know why? You know why they're now just saying it's about non-citizens? Because all of those other crazy arguments that used to be attached to their legal arguments about the 2020 stolen election, all of those arguments have been just routinely laughed out of court. There is no tread left on those tires. So now they're starting a new one where they're claiming that non-citizens are being allowed to vote in Nevada. Nevada's like, what? You can't. It says here there is no evidence that only citizens of America can vote. If no evidence exists, why is the GOP suing? Blah, 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 blah. Here's what they're saying. They're saying, well, they're suing because it'll get publicity, and it's an opportunity to once again confuse the American public. That is a very cynical way to look at it, but I think it's also dead on. I think it's the only reason they do this stupid shit. I mean, do Americans not know that only American citizens can vote? Do they think that, like, the illegal who we're seeing on Fox News, who just came across and is now bussing tables, do you think that guy can go and vote? Because let me tell you, I'm a lifelong citizen of the United States, and I'm driver's license, all of that stuff. I have had problems registering to vote. It's one of the reasons why I am not going to be voting this time. I have had problems. So you think a dude who cleans dishes, who's been here for 3 weeks, can vote? Well, no, Pugs, it's these Democratic operatives who are now, registering. No, they're not, because they can't vote. They can't vote. They're not allowed to vote. I don't know how else. Texas. I'm sorry, that's Frank. I think that's Frankie. Frankie says Minnesota gets non-citizen driver's license. Minnesota drivers are registered to vote automatically thanks to Governor Walz. Yeah, unless they're not citizens. Unless they are not citizens of the United States, they have driver's license. That was a rule in Minnesota, Frank, that was passed because they have this influx of immigrants. And we're not talking about the ones you're afraid of. We're talking about highly educated immigrants who come for things like the Mayo Clinic and other incredibly smart people shit. Well, a lot of them, while they're getting their education from the University of Minnesota, they have to do things like, drive delivery and all that shit. So you know what? Getting them driver's license to have them legally okay and understanding the rules in America is a fucking good thing. But the driver's license, they can just walk into the polling place and go, blah, 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 blah. I don't speak English, blah, 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 but here's my driver's license. And they get the fucking vote. You can't be that dumb. You can't be that dumb, dude. You can't. A driver's license it's not all you need to vote. And besides, I don't know who the fuck you're getting this from, but those driver's licenses that are issued to non-citizens have a designation on the driver's license that they are not citizens. You're probably not being told that by Charlie Kirk, whoever the fuck is filling your people's head with stupid goddamn shit. Thank you. I know I promised this show was going to be for normal people, but that's what I love about my guy, Frank. Frank gets me to go there. Adam gets me to go there. I almost went there with Adam the other day. Adam accused me when I was talking about Will Ferrell. He accused me of some pretty mean and hurtful things. I didn't like it. You can't vote in this country if you're not a citizen. Stop walking around thinking you can. You just sound stupid. Okay. Yeah, but there's so many things. And again, why are they saying they're doing this? And it's because the attorney general in Nevada, who, by the way, is a Republican, is saying, yeah, they're doing this to confuse people. They're doing this to make people think that surely there must be something to this if they're filing. That's why they're doing it. It's all about confusing us. It's all about making us dumber than we are. And I'm getting tired of it. Justin Timberlake's in court today. Justin Timberlake, he got a DUI. June, my God. When I heard that today, they're like, Justin Timberlake got a DUI back in June. I'm like, man, oh man. So that's how long. That's how long it takes to get your day in court for a DUI in Sag Harbor, Hamptons, New York. A summer. It takes a summer. Because it was like, that's how we started summer. We started summer with Justin Timberlake getting a DUI, and now we're ending summer with Justin Timberlake going to court. Apparently, he's going to take a lesser plea. What is this? It says here, Justin Timberlake's in court. He's going to plead to a lesser charge. The original charge was driving. No, he's going to plead to driving while impaired, which apparently is a big difference than, being a drunk asshole on the road. Was that the first charge? Drunk asshole on the road. And now it's driving while impaired. They say it's just going to be a fine. Oh, and then I was watching CNN this morning, and they had all of these fancy dudes in suits, and they're all talking. They're treating the Justin Timberlake court appearance plead down for a DUI. They're treating it like it's worthy of having 5 people on the panel. And here's what one of the lawyers said. One of the lawyers was like, well, this is very common. This is typically how these DUIs are handled. And everyone on the panel was like, yes, it is. This is typically what happens. What you'll have is you'll have your lawyer, and they'll negotiate something that's lesser. And, it's just a way to adjudicate these things quickly. It's very common. It happens all the time. And I'm sitting there watching this going, no, it doesn't. It happens all the time for people who have the kind of money that they can afford a lawyer who can do this. You know what typically happens when, normal working class people get DUIs? They get fucked up hard for about the next year and a half. They don't get a lawyer. They do what they think is right. They get the hammer thrown. Sometimes they get a judicial driving permit. We're going to take your license. We're going to take your license for the next year because you were drunk. Regular people get fucked by DUI laws. The prosecution of regular people over DUI laws is, well, you know what? It's funny. The show that was just preceding me, the reason we started a little bit later today was Mark Lassiter, who's an incredibly gifted DUI attorney in this town. I should have had him stick around. We should have been talking about this with him. So I just felt I was so pissed off at CNN. All these big, fat, country club member having attorneys talking about how this is normal for Justin Timberlake. No, it's normal for rich people. This is how rich people go through the process of a DUI. Normal people, it fucking sucks. It's like one of the worst 24 hours of your life being a normal person going through this thing. So stop acting like it's not a big deal. What it is it's another example how a certain group of people in this country don't have to go through the everyday bullshit that the rest of us do. And they wonder why we're so fucking pissed off. It's about an incremental buildup of one little bullshit thing that we have to do that other people don't, simply because they're wealthy or simply because they're allowed certain rules because they can afford an attorney. Who's Pedro Pavel? What's that? Do we have another clickbait scammer in the chat room? I love that. It means that somebody's seeing this show. It means that somehow people outside my bubble are coming into. Now, he's not. I make no allusions to the idea that I'm going to become, Pedro's favorite show. But it would be nice. Maybe Pedro's a good guy. Sure, right now we see Pedro as just some fucking pest who posts, porn links in the chat room. We don't know anything about Pedro. Pedro might be awesome. Pedro, this is just a job for Pedro. He's like, he got a cousin, hooked him up, and now, he sits in a room and he does this. Pedro, if you're listening, I just want to say welcome. Sports Bras says, as the executive producer of today's show, let's not get our host a stroke. Nah, I'm good. I love that. That's, sometimes I like to vent. You ever have an old car? Like, you ever have an old muscle car? And every once in a while, you need to just get it out on the open road and you just got to you got to lay it on it. You got 120 and you see like the different colors coming out of the back. You're like, look at all that white smoke. Sometimes I got to do that. I'm not in danger of having a stroke any more than your 1978 Cutlass is in danger of exploding. It might be. Maybe I am going to have a stroke. All right, let's calm down. Justin Timberlake, he struck a deal. All right. I'm going to need my right people here. And this may even be too crazy right. Because even my friends who are right people, like I called my friend today. I called him about something else. But I was talking about this particular situation, and he only knew who one of these people were. And I'm like, oh, that's because you're one of the good ones. And he goes, excuse me? I go, you're like one of the good MAGAs. Like, what is good MAGA? I go, someone who doesn't know who Laura Loomer is. If you don't know who Laura Loomer is, you're probably one of the good MAGAs who's not completely lost. So there's a fight. There's a big fight going on. It's like a GOP cat fight between Marjorie Taylor Greene, everyone's favorite American Karen. She is like a Karen that they elected to Congress, and it's a beautiful thing. She's hysterical. She is the comic relief. Until her, most of the people in Congress, they would do foolish and silly things, and it just made you angry because you're like, oh, fuck those guys. And then she comes along, and she's so nutty with her little like Lululemon pants and sports bra doing Instagram shits, with working out for America. She's crazy. She's great. I love her. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is apparently in a cat fight with this chick Laura Loomer. Now I know who she is because I like to learn a little bit about all the kookiest and the craziest. All right, so Laura Loomer is she's a provocateur. She is a controversial political pundit. She's fucking nuts, dude. She's fucking nuts. All right, let me just tell you about Laura Loomer. It says here she gained notoriety as a result of being banned from numerous social media platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. She was also banned from payment processors, vehicles for hire, and food delivery mobile apps. She couldn't get an Uber. She couldn't get, she couldn't get Grubhub. Oh my God, what did she do? Well, she's a troublemaking crazy lady. That's what she does. All of this was because she spreads disinformation. Hold on, guys. I just lost my spot. Including she is banned for violating policies on hate speech and for posting misinformation. Oh my God. Hold on. I keep losing my place because my big fat dumb finger is affecting my scroll. I want to see how she self-describes herself. It says she self-describes herself in a certain way, and I want to read it. All right. So Laura Loomer says here, it happened again. All right, we're going to do it. We're going to do it over here. I don't need to use that fucking shit. Okay, let's do it this way. All right, here it is. Laura Loomer says, Loomer gained notoriety as a result of being banned from a number of sites, social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. She was also banned from payment processing sites. Vehicles for hire have banned her. Food delivery mobile apps have all banned her for various reasons, including violating policies on hate speech and for posting misinformation. So I don't know what she was doing on Uber Eats or Uber. Is there even a place you can post your far right-wing white supremacist views? Because she's got some of those. And if you think I'm just, no, she doesn't. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, she is a self-described proud Islamophobe and pro-white nationalist conspiracy theorist. That's how she describes herself. I don't think I did her a disservice as to what she plainly states is how she wants people to know who she is. Laura Loomer is a self-described proud Islamophobe. That means, I fucking hate the ragheads. She's one of those. Okay. We know they're out there, but she's proud of it. And she's a pro-white nationalist. We know what that is. And a proud conspiracy theorist. So this is who Laura Loomer is, okay? How did this whole thing start between her and Marjorie Taylor Greene? On Wednesday, this was 2 days ago, on Wednesday, this is the very same day that she appeared alongside Trump during a national 9/11 memorial event in New York. Loomer took to X, formerly Twitter, to mock Kamala Harris, suggesting that if she's elected, the White House would smell like curry if she won. Okay. I see where she's going. Hey, it's a bad joke. I'm not gonna. It's a racist joke. It's a joke that depends on. It's a joke that depends on your understanding of culture, ethnic culture, certainly of like South Indian. What is she? What is Kamala Harris? Well, she's black and like South Indian, whatever. Anyway, curry, just a bad joke. It's a bad, dumb joke. It was meant, don't get me wrong, her intention was to be racist, but it's not like that. It's not like that bad. It's dumb. It's like what you expect from Laura Loomer. All right, so she said the White House will smell like curry if she wins. I got to tell you, I lived in an apartment building. In Chicago for a brief period of time with some neighbors who were Indian or Pakistani. I don't know. It's just them. Indian or Pakistani. I will say this. They moved in. The hallways smelled like curry. All the time. It is, in fact, how I came to try curry for the first time. And now I love Indian food. And do you know why? Because when I remember walking into my apartment complex with our new Indian immigrant neighbors, and by the way, we all know those Indian immigrants, they just end up living on the streets and stealing our hubcaps. Those fucking Indian immigrants, they all end up like chemotherapy doctors and, like NASA astronauts. So shut the fuck up about Indian immigrants. They're pretty actual ballers, if you really want to know. They're awesome. When was the last time you went to a hospital and was treated by somebody who wasn't Indian or Pakistani? They're smart people. So I remember walking in. She wasn't my wife at the time. My name was, it doesn't matter. But I remember we walked in and we smelled the curry. The new Indian neighbors or Pakistani, again, I don't know, it didn't matter. But we walked in and we both went, "Ooh, that smells good." So that was our reaction to, that whole thing, that stereotype that, when they move in, it's all going to smell. Like, our reaction was, that smells good. I feel bad for anyone whose reaction to that be, fucking Indians, what the fuck is this smell now? Fuck, it's different than what I understand or what I know to be the smell of the hallway, and being different confuses me. Dude, just go. You ever had fucking Indian food? It's delicious. It's like, what is your problem? That's awesome. It's like, I would like, maybe my grandma could move in upstairs and she could whip up her chicken and dumplings every Sunday, fill the hallway with that. I love the smell of food. So, I mean, that is a stereotype about those people that, their curry smells. It smells good. What do you mean it smells? It smells good. When did that become a bad thing? Isn't that supposed to be like a homey thing? Like, the hallways smell like food. All right, so if the White House smells like food, here's where it gets racist. All right, I just figured it out. Look at what we did. I just found where it's racist. Because if Laura Loomer had been complaining about, she bakes cookies, and if she becomes president, it'll smell like baked cookies, that wouldn't be a dog whistle. That would be like, because everybody loves the smell of fresh baked cookies. Hell, real estate agents will bake cookies in a house they're selling before an open house so that people walk in and be like, oh, it smells so good in here. I lived in a neighborhood that was adjacent to the Nabisco vanilla wafer plant on the south side of Chicago. My Chicago friends are all like, yeah, man, how about that neighborhood? You know what's awesome about that neighborhood? You would come home from the bars like 3 a.m. and you'd get out and you'd start walking to your place, and the entire neighborhood at 3 a.m. smelled like fresh baked cookies, vanilla wafers specifically. God damn, I'm hungry. And then you get back in the car and you'd go and you get some dinner or some food, go through a drive-through. So fresh baked cookies is good. Why is curry bad? That's where it gets racist, because if you make the jump to, well, it's bad because it's not pot roast. Pot roast is American if it smelled like pot roast. So that's what Laura Loomer does. She engaged in a little bit of shit like that. She said that if Kamala wins, the White House is going to smell like curry. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who no stranger to a provocative tweet herself, she was quick to chime in. She was quick to reject Loomer's rhetoric as, quote, appalling and extremely racist. But not extremely racist. It's a bad joke told by an unfunny, crazy person. That is certainly a dog whistle if you think that food of different cultures is an obvious negative. That's what it was. That's not obvious. There's a bunch of steps there, but I get what you're saying. Congratulations. Let me say congratulations to Marjorie Taylor Greene for calling out something that she sees as racist and bad for this country's discourse. Good for her. Of course, it's all bullshit, because the only reason that Marjorie Taylor Greene is calling out Laura Loomer is why I call this a GOP catfight. It's not about Laura Loomer saying something that is kind of racist. It's not about that. It's about Laura Loomer flying on Trump Force One. It's about Laura Loomer showing up with Trump at the 9/11 memorial. It's about Laura Loomer and her presumed influence and access to Donald Trump in the past couple of weeks. That's what's got Marjorie Taylor Greene all jealous and fucking flaming Laura Loomer. Because here's the deal. Laura Loomer is a well-known crazy person, and she should be, to any normal person, considered toxic and kryptonite to any functioning campaign. Laura Loomer has been somebody who has been on Trump's radar for a long time. Apparently, Trump tried to get her appointed to the campaign staff like months ago, and everybody in charge of anything in the Trump was like, dude, that's a bad idea. She's a nutball. We can't have her here. So she has now gained some modicum of access, big access. She's flying on the plane with him. She's walking off the plane with him. She's standing next to him at the night. And although she does not have an official position within the Trump campaign, I mean, I think most of the people running the Trump campaign wouldn't stand for it, and they've gone on record as saying they wouldn't. They're all now openly and very publicly, just watch any of the news. You have these Trump spokespeople going, well, I think she's bad for the Brent. They're not shying away from it, but this is his call. He has suddenly given her some level of import to his, she's flying on the plane with him and shit. She's standing next to him at these big events. So that's what's got Marjorie Taylor Greene freaked out. Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to be Donald Trump's girlfriend. And now she's seeing that Donald's got a new girlfriend in the crazy Laura Loomer, who, by the way, Laura Loomer's fucking weird looking. Trump don't need that. What is Trump? Is Trump crazy old man? Like, here's the thing that happens to old people. I'm going to tell you this. It happens to old men. You first start to see it with dudes in their 50s. When dudes get older, okay? When dudes get older and they get single, I'm 58 and I'm single for the first time in my life. And then they start hanging out at strip clubs and shit. Like, you know what I mean? They turn into like that guy for a little bit because they gotta, as I said, they gotta open the engines up. They gotta race that car for a little bit. Feel young, feel vital, take on the next chapter of their life. So a lot of these guys will end up dating a young girl, like a girl in her 20s, right? It's like, I'm going through a rough divorce. This is my new girlfriend, Bridget. I don't know why I said that name. I should have said Brittany. This is my new girlfriend, Amber, right? And Amber's like, he's 58 and she's like 23. So here's what happens to older guys. She's a skank. She is gross. She is, I'm telling you, like, he's like, I'm 58, I'm dating a 25-year-old. And like all of his friends are like, yeah, 25-year-old fucking gross chick. She's like, gross, dude. The reason she's dating you is because a normal 25-year-old boy won't go near her. Anyway, that's what happens. Men start to lose sight of what is attractive simply because they're intoxicated by the idea of the age. She's so young and she's interested in me. I must be relevant. Yeah, she's also like an obvious junkie. She's got her problems and I'm going to help her through them. No, dude. No, dude. She stole your TV. She stole your TV, my friend. I know she's 24 and a stripper at the club you go to, but she is gross. She is a skank. You need to go back to your wife. Dude, you need to go back to your wife before you just have 5 kids with her. Because anyway, that's what happens. And I think that's what's happening with Trump. I think because Trump has got Melania. Melania ain't fucked this guy in years. She's pissed at him. We don't know what for. There's something going on there. It's obvious. She doesn't seem like a really warm, kind person anyway. You know, she's very, like, she's got resting bitch face. She does. But also cannot be denied. Fucking smoke show. Smoke show, Melania Trump. But Trump ain't had that in years. Not a chance. Not a chance. I can't wait to read the books. She's banging Secret Service dudes. You just know it. She's been banging a Secret Service guy probably for a bunch of years. Anyway, point is this. He's not getting any. So I think that he looks at Laura Loomer and he's having that problem where he's old now and she's young. She's like 27. He's like 80. And I think he thinks she's hot. She ain't hot. She looks like Jigsaw from the Saw movies. She's had a whole bunch. She's 27 and she's obviously had radical plastic surgery. What normal person has radical plastic surgery at 27 years old? She looks like Jigsaw. Anyway, people are saying he's banging her. And I'm like, nah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Unless, of course, you know, my theory that when dudes get older, they can't tell when a 25-year-old is hot anymore. All they can tell is that she's 25. They don't know. I think that might be happening with Trump. Although, you know, I gotta be honest. Have you seen his lawyer, that Alina Hababa? God, she's hot. She is so hot. That Trump lawyer, he should be with her. He should be like trying to get with her. She'd totally do it. She would totally be with him. What's he doing with Loomer? Does he think Loomer maybe looks a little bit like Melania? Because she don't. I mean, other than she's got Melania hair, which I think is by design. I think she went, give me a Melania haircut. She's kind of got that. Frankie's one of my far-right friends. Frankie sent me off a few minutes ago about non-citizens can't vote. Stop it. Well, I could show you an example. You could show me one. Show me 1,000. Because if you can show me 1,000 examples, that wouldn't even be the beginning of a reason for us to be concerned at the national level. But just try for a second. I am sure that illegal people have voted. I am sure. Like 15 out of like 80 billion votes cast, like 15. It's a big problem. We need to shut down the electoral process in Nevada. Sorry, Frank. Frank's talking about Loomer. Frank says, Laura Loomer is a strange lady. I do know someone who knows Loomer and says she was normal in a social situation. Frank also says, I was told Trump is anti-Arab and has Alina working for him. Yeah, it doesn't mean that Alina can't. I think Alina's anti-Arab. What, you think Alina Hababa? You don't know, Frank. Do you understand the premise of the self-loathing immigrant? That's a very common thing. Very common thing. Someone who comes to this country and is part of an immigrant class who is feeling as they grow up marginalized by their family and the way their family speaks at home. Can't you speak English? And they begin to relate in a very overboard way with American culture, and that becomes what's known as a self-loathing immigrant. That's why a lot of times you see. I don't want to go into it, but I think she's definitely a self-loathing. I don't think Alina Habba is whatever she is. I don't think she's pro-Arab. I think she's very anti-Arab. Isn't she a Christian? Don't you have to be Christian? Except Loomer's not Christian. Loomer's not Christian? Well, that's probably why she's so controversial with her position there. Everybody else is Christian. Maybe that's why Marjorie Taylor Greene is all pissed off at her. Anyway, Marjorie Taylor Greene, here's what she says. She says, I don't think that she has the experience or the right mentality to advise Donald Trump. That's what Greene told reporters. She added she was not privy to Trump's conversation with Loomer. And she says, I do know this, however, that Loomer, her rhetoric and her tone does not match the base. It does not match MAGA. It does not match most Republicans I know. Greene continued, and I'm really denouncing it. I'm over it. Loomer unleashed a multi-post rant on X. Firstly, she was defending her original attack on Harris, and she then attacked Greene, calling Greene a raging anti-Semite and a trailer trash harpy. Hey, guess who poked his head in on this? Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham got it. There's a girl fight going on, and he's like, oh, girl. He's like such a, you know what I mean? He likes it when the girls get into a fight, and not for the reason that other dudes like it when girls get into fights. Most guys like it when girls get into fights because we might see a boob. Boob might pop out. Boob. Not Lindsey. Lindsey's just in it for the drama. He's in it for the Real Housewife fun of it. So Lindsey Graham got involved. He talked some shit on Loomer. Can't do that when you're Lindsey Graham. Now, this is, Trump. Trump doesn't know what he's dealing with the black woman, and Lindsey Graham doesn't know what he's dealing with a Laura Loomer. Thinks Lindsey Graham's like, yeah, she's crazy. I don't like her. I'm Lindsey Graham. Laura Loomer fired back. Let's see here. What did she say about Lindsey Graham? She said, after Senator Lindsey Graham also weighed in, urging the former president, Trump, to distance himself from the, quote, toxic Loomer. Loomer turned on him. Of course she did. Questioning the senator's commitment to Trump, his vision, and his own, Lindsey Graham, sexuality. She called him a fag. She didn't call him a fag. She called him a fag without calling him a fag, but that's what she did. Oh, shut up, you old queer. That's what she said. Can't deal with that. That's not, no civilized society can have somebody who fights like that in a position of influence. We can't do that. I mean, it's funny. Shut up, you old queen. That's beautiful. Peter's right. Lindsey don't want no boob. Lindsey's not interested in that. Lindsey's interested in the whole Real Housewives overturning the table. You're a bitch. You know what you are? You're a stupid, dumb bitch whore. That's what Lindsey's there for. What else do we have here? Oh, let's check this out. Have you seen this? This will be a fun one. We'll talk about this lady. This lady's running for office here in Texas. Her name is Sally Duvall. She's a big old pothead, apparently. But here's why it's interesting. You spend any time hanging out with me here on this show, you know that I've been talking about for 3 years now how absolutely insane the laws are around here concerning, getting high or whatever it is. Here's what's so insane about these laws. Hold on. Let me do something here. So I've been telling you that when I moved here 3 years ago, I moved from a state that has legalized marijuana, Illinois. When I wanted to buy weed, I would just go to the weed store. There was one on every corner. Or not every, that's not true. That's actually typically you have to drive. Like where I live, there was within 10 miles in either direction, there was a weed store. But it's not like it is with vape stores here. In Texas, there are vape stores everywhere. Every strip mall has a vape store. You know it. You've seen them. So I moved from a state that was legal marijuana. So when I wanted to buy something, I would go into a store and it was all legal. It was all fine. Okay, good. I moved down here to Texas and I'm like, too bad. Can't do that anymore. And then somebody goes, what? What are you talking about? What do you mean you can't do that anymore? I go, I can't. If I wanted to get high, I couldn't get high. Yeah, you can. You just go to a vape store. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? He said, you go to a vape store. And then, I learned this whole very complicated thing about how hemp is legal and marijuana is not. Marijuana is not legal. You cannot have any marijuana because, years and years of demonizing this and all these, lots of money has been spent to make people think that marijuana is one thing. So we're not ready to legalize that, especially not in the most conservative of states. However, like I said, this is the most politically non-divisive issue out there, and it's the issue of legalized weed. Republicans smoke weed every bit as much as Democrats. Stop it. Christians smoke weed. Jesus looks like he smoked weed. I mean, so it's a really silly argument to still be having in 2024, especially when you can now gamble on anything you want. You can go broke and gamble, but 18 years old, fine. You don't need to go to college. You got a phone with a DraftKings app on it. You can be a pro gambler. We're a very permissive society. It bothers a lot of people, but with me, I think that's the way we need to be. So they figured out a loophole, and in 2018, President Donald Trump. Thank you, Donald. I mean, this was great. I love that he did this. And he did it quietly so as not to raise the suspicions of the evangelicals and the Christians and the really super conservative people who want to control everything that we put in our bodies. Because they wouldn't like the legalization of the Trump legalized hemp cultivation. Hemp is the same thing as marijuana. I know you're like, what? No, it's not. We were never told that before. It is. It is the same thing, especially under this law, because this law allows for the extraction of the ingredient in hemp that is also the ingredient in marijuana, which is illegal. This extract, when it comes out of a marijuana plant, is illegal, but it also occurs in hemp. So when you pull it out of a hemp plant, the hemp is legal, and all of the extracts and uses of hemp as a product commercially is also legal. So therefore, the selling of this THC or deltas 9s, deltas 10s, all these things that get you high are absolutely legal for sale under the 2018 Farm Bill, which was signed into law by Donald Trump. If you want to get high, if you like to get high, if you like to watch a movie on a Saturday night and have a couple of puffs, and you can do that. You can do that legally in all 50 states, but nobody knows about it. Nobody knows that the reason there are all these vape shops is because they are selling shit that will legitimately get you fucking high. Okay. Now, the problem with this is that it's unregulated because it is so sketchy and it is so there are some issues with some of these fly-by-night companies that are rushing these new, Delta vapes and all of this and pre-rolls and all of that. And I've been telling you for 3 years, it's the same thing. And in many cases, far better. The vape brand that I buy, and I can only find this at what's a little bit more expensive, but it is a better high than almost anything I've ever had. So all of this, yeah, but it's a lesser high. No, it is not. Follow along or I'm going to make you do your studying in the hallway. It is not lesser because remember, you can pull. Yes, a marijuana has a greater concentration of the shit that gets you high than does hemp, but you can pull. They have the same thing. More of it in marijuana, not as much in hemp, but that's okay. You can pull it out of hemp, put it in a vial, grab another hemp, pull it out of that hemp, put it in the same vial, grab another hemp, and before you know it, you've got what I'm saying is it's not lesser. In some cases, it's dangerously, man. I had an edible once. These were called like Neutron, super heavy, be careful, toxic edible gummy worms. 2 days. 2 days. I was like, holy fuck, how is that legal for me to walk into a shop right next to a Little Caesars, It's a Little Caesars and there's a nail salon, and in between it is a place where I just walked in and legally bought something that fucked me up about as hard as anything has ever fucked me up before. Completely legal in uber conservative where weed is illegal Texas. How is this happening? Well, it's because none of our laws make sense, and anytime that anyone can find a loophole, it used to be just attorneys who found these loopholes. It used to be just attorneys defending rich guys who would find. Now it's our congressmen. Now our congressmen are finding loopholes, and this is how they're getting shit passed like this. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I wish they would just legalize marijuana. Just legalize marijuana and hemp. Just legalize it all. What is the problem? Comes Sally Duvall. Sally Duvall is running for the Texas State House, and this is her ad. This is Sally's ad.
My name is Sally Duvall, and I'm running for the Texas House of Representatives. You might already know what's in this, but do you know who has no idea and no way to test it? Law enforcement. They arrest people every day for marijuana possession, but they don't have the funding to test if it's illegal marijuana or a federally legal hemp product. Our laws are confusing and unclear. While marijuana remains illegal for most Texans, hemp products that can get you high, like Delta 8, Delta 9, and THCA, are being sold at more than 7,000 retailers statewide. But our Lieutenant Governor, he wants to both regulate and ban these products. Now, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that you can't do both of these things. Fortunately, we don't have to choose between safety and legalization. We can and should have both, but it's going to take leaders who know enough and care enough to do what's right. My opponent doesn't, which is a real shame. Not only will legalization and regulation help support our small farmers and medically complex Texans, but the tax revenue could be used to help fund education, public health, and mental health services. So here's the bottom line. Texans should have the freedom to consume these products if they want to. You can visit my website to read all about my common sense policy. I'm Sally Duvall, and I believe it's high time for change in Texas.
She's a rookie. She's a rookie. She choked on it. All right, so a couple of things about that. First of all, that's cool. All right, Grandma Sally. Stoner Grandma. She's probably younger than me. I'm going to find out that she's like 2 years younger than me. Okay, so a couple of things about this. And because I don't really want to talk about the political issue of it, the legalizations, whatever it is she's advocating for. I don't care. I think you know where I stand. It should be legalized. But what I find interesting about that is that Sally there, she's going to have no impact on it one way or another. She's going to be an elected member of the Texas State House. I mean, that's kind of not much of a vote there. You know, she's not going to have much power. She's not going to be, you elect me and I'm going to make it legal. She ain't going to be able to do anything. So let's not be distracted by that. But let's talk about what I think is really interesting about that ad. Here is a woman in Texas who is running for statewide office who is completely comfortable in 2024 letting the constituency know that she gets high. That's a big change. That used to completely destroy campaigns, not just campaigns. Hell, that would destroy a career. So it's very interesting to me that here we are, we live, and this is a very conservative state. We know what we are. We're a red state. We're Texas. We're Texans. I hate the idea that you guys are just Republican right-wingers. I'm like, nah, dude, that's not it. I guess if you had to put us in a category or a line where we're going to raise hands and tally up votes, maybe that's where we would belong for the simplicity of that process. But Texans are different. Texans are Texans. And I know I don't know. I just that's an issue here in this state that I think shows how disconnected the power currently is. Greg Abbott is complete. Dan Patrick, all these people, these are remnants of a terrible past. They're always going to lean into the weed is bad and we're never going to let it be legal because people shouldn't smoke the weed. You know, that's praise Jesus. That's their whole base. That's where they are. They're never going to change on that. But at the same time, you know, Greg Abbott codified the Farm Bill of 2018 here in the state of Texas with the Texas hemp legislation. So he made it law. And now that a whole bunch of people in rural Texas, pastors and all of this stuff, and the people who donate all kinds of money to, Greg Abbott and his likes, they're starting to go, what's with all these kids getting high at the place next to the nail salon and the strip mall? Like people are starting to realize that you can get high anywhere you want in Texas now. So Greg Abbott now has completely reversed what he set in motion here in the state, again, by codifying the 2018 Farm Bill with the Texas 2019 Farm Bill, or I think it was called the Hemp Legalization Act. He did it, causing all these vape shops to now sell it, but now he's saying we're going to ban it and we're going to regulate it, which Sally points out. This is an issue that I actually follow. I want to do a podcast about it. I want to do a podcast about how crazy these laws are, but I just don't know who that would be for or how I would do it. But anyway, my point is this. Sally Duvall is basically brave enough to not only appear on screen smoking a bong like so many other Texans do and wish they could do without having to feel like an outlaw in the process, but she's also pointing out to the Americans how fucking crazy Abbott is on this position, a position that I think if you took the 30,000-foot view of, you would find most Texans are fine with it. Legalize it. I bet it's 7 out of 10. I bet it's 70%. Anyway, there she is, Sally Duvall. I had to have this conversation with my ex-wife, my son's mom, yesterday. We were watching my kid play football. And so we're sitting there, and it was just me and her sitting there watching Mace play. And she started telling me about, we started having a conversation about those vape pens and stuff like that, because it's a real concern. I go, teenagers today, they have it so easy. Her name is Jess. I'm like, Jess, they have it so easy today. I go, I didn't smoke weed at all until college. That wasn't my thing in high school. I was a drinker. Stoners were one thing. But I told her about how, just teenagers back then trying to smoke weed in their bedroom, while they're doing homework or whatever. They'd have the window open and they'd have candles and incense and a fan and blowing it. Why? Because for some reason, nothing smells more strongly than a teenager smoking weed in the bedroom, because every parent is like, I can smell weed. I mean, it's just the worst. Not with these vapes. Not with these new vapes, man. They don't smell like anything. A kid can be in their room just vaping, getting fucking blitzed, and there's no smell. How you doing in there, champ? I'm doing great, Dad. You doing your homework? Yeah, man. All right, Tiger. Have a good night. Parents have no idea. I mean, it used to be you could open the door and you'd be like, the fuck's going on in here? You used to be able to do that. We can't do that. I got a 15-year-old. And his mom and I, we were talking about, we're up shit creek, man. We got to look for other indicators, because not that we have that concern. We don't have that concern. But we were talking about how, a lot of these kids, they have access to weed in a way that they never did because of the hemp vapes, the Delta 9 THCA vapes that you can just buy at any store. Now you have to be 18, maybe even 21. I don't know. I've never been carded. Figure that. But it's as accessible as getting a hold of a bottle. How hard is it for a 15-year-old if they really tried to get a hold of a couple of beers or maybe a case of beer or a bottle? Come on, Dad's got them in the garage. We can steal it. He'll never notice. My dad's got a full bar. I can grab a bottle from the lower rack. We can do it. Well, that's what it's like with weed now. It wasn't like that with us. It was hard. You used to have to have, if you wanted to buy weed, like back when it was illegal everywhere, you had to have a specific group of friends that were only in your life for the procurement of weed. That was it. And you would, from time to time, spend time in their apartment, just sitting on a couch for no other reason than, I need to make him think I'm his actual friend, so let's hang out here. You know what I mean? It was like, because they were your friends who could get you weed. They were the guys who dealt weed. Everybody had a weed dealer friend, a guy who you could get if you needed it. And you probably didn't even really like him. And he had and it was always awkward. Like, he'd buy weed like on a Friday night. You stop over. Hey, man, can I get a bag? Yeah, you can get a bag. He's like, and then he'd always be like, he's got like, PlayStation going. He's like, here you go, brah. And he like give it to you. And then you don't want to be a dick, so you sit down for a minute. He's like, can I get you a beer? The weed dealers, apartment weed dealers were always like the most desperate. Can I get you? Gotta go? Well, sit down, man. You just want to get out of there. You're like, no, I want to go. And then sometimes, what you getting into tonight, man? And like, I got something really big going on. You don't want to tell him that because you don't want him hanging around. You're going out with friends from work. You don't want to bring your apartment living pot dealer friend. No, man, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to go home. I think I'm going to get high. Well, let's hang out here, man, and burn one. Come on. That's what we used to have to do. That's what buying weed in 1992 was like. Got to hang out with these people. Tell you the other great thing. The other great thing was like you need like they were. Did you ever have this one? I'm sure you did. I'm sure everybody who ever tried to buy weed when it was illegal went through this. So you got that guy who's your weed guy, and you give him a call. And let me remind you, this was before everyone had cell phones. So you would call them from home. And maybe you'd get them at home or whatever, or maybe I don't know how you would get, I don't know what it would be. Or you would know. Okay, he gets home from work at like 5:30 on Friday. So you'd know that. You had no way to contact him or anything. So you'd be like, all right, he gets home from work Friday. So you'd be sitting in a parking lot in some funky apartment complex, 5:15 on a Friday, just waiting for your like pot dealer friend to come in. And he's like 2 hours late. You're like, fuck, I'm not going to get weed. It was hard, is my point. It was hard. You had to work hard to buy weed back in the day. Now you can just walk into any 7-Eleven. Seriously, you can walk into anywhere that has like a vape selection and you can get some weed that was better than the shit that I would have waited 2 hours for back in 1992. Kids today have it easy. They just got, it's prevalent. So that's what my son's mom and I were talking about. It's everywhere now. You can get it so easy. Somebody's dad leaves a vape pen, in a bedside, and kid swipes it, and all of a sudden, 2 15-year-olds are walking to school, hitting a vape, getting baked. And nobody can smell it, none of that. It's a different world, man. We just got to make it legal. Got to make it legal. Got to regulate it. Got to get some of those tax dollars, put them to work for us. We're gonna take the tax dollars and we'll dedicate them to drug intervention programs and rehabs. Oh, shut up. Take the money from pot taxes and build something fucking cool. Build like a big cool stoner tower. Like Chicago, we got a bean. The only reason that the bean on the lakefront was created is because, stoners was like, that looks totally cool, man. That's the whole point of that stupid thing. That's our tax dollars up there at work. But no, you go ahead. You legalize marijuana in Texas and give the money to rehabs. That ain't gonna happen. Build a glass tower. Build more of those stupid white bridges that we have over here in the design district. I think Forney would like a stupid white bridge. Let's do that. There's all kinds of good uses that can make our town cooler without having to just worry about people with drug issues. If people with drug issues, they shouldn't. There you go. You got a drug problem? Don't have a drug problem. But I ain't giving you my tax dollars to get you sober because you made a bunch of stupid decisions. Barney says, let's see here. Barney says, I wasn't a dealer. He just made a trip to Dallas every couple of weeks and got extra for his friends. Yeah, we all had one of those friends too. Barney's talking about that variety of friend. He's not a dealer. I'm not a dealer. I don't deal. I'm not a dealer. But, he's got a garbage bag in his apartment that's just filled with weed and he goes to Colorado. I'm not a dealer. I just deal to friends. Yeah, no, we've all had that guy. We know that guy too. That guy, he's a real guy. Barney's right. That's a real guy. I had one of those guys back in the early days of Pugs and Kelly. I had one of those guys who was a military pilot. He was like flying, I don't know what he did. He was a pilot. Point is this, he came back and he like smuggled back like all of this, like, I don't know what he said was really good, like Afghani weed pot something. I don't know. He gave me a whole bunch of it. it was pot. You know, I was like, it was sold to me as, yeah, this is really rare. And I'm like, it's pot. I don't know. My buddy Emil, he always gets like the best weed. And I got to be honest, this stuff is not up to his caliber. But God love the Afghanis. Simply because it comes from there doesn't mean it's better than something that was grown in a model home in Richardson, in the closet of a model home in Richardson. Doesn't mean anything. It's Afghani. Yeah, so what? This is from Cedar Hill. And I'm telling you, it's better than whatever that shit is from Afghani. Adam says, I'll buy a legal cart when I land in Chicago. Yeah, the Wrigley family. Those are the people who the Wrigley family. Chewing gum. You know? Get a little close. Isn't that a closer piece? I Doublemint, the Wrigley family. Yeah, they basically they shifted from chewing gum to legal weed. They the Wrigley family owns like a shit ton. I think the dude's name is Buck Wrigley. I think he's like the great grandson of William Wrigley, who invented chewing gum. I don't know if that's true, but why not just say William Wrigley invented chewing gum? We're just gonna go with it. Yeah, they do weed. So you'll go into one of the Wrigley legal weed places in Chicago. Yeah, Adam's going to Chicago next week, man. I'm serious, Adam. Let's do a video. Let's do a video. We don't have to release it, but I mean, we should look at each other when we do this, and we'll go through where you're staying. I'll find some really cool things, some cool experiences for you. I'm very good at this. There are a number of people who I've done this for in the past, and they always say they have a lovely time. Now, are you going alone, or are you going with the lovely Mrs. Raina? Because that'll change. And I'm not bad. Don't worry, Libby. I'm not gonna send him. There's no sex stuff. It's not like that. But if he's alone, I can send him to things that are better for people who are alone. And if he's with you, then I'll send him places where you two can have a nice romantic thing. There is no sex trade in Chicago, not the way it is here, or at least it hasn't been. For instance, my entire life growing up, when I moved to Dallas for the first time, I'm like, holy fuck, you guys got a lot of titty bars. Why are there so many? I thought Texas was super conservative. Why is there a titty bar on every? There are no titty bars in Chicago. You have to go way out in the suburbs. You have to go out near the airport, out in the burbs, to find a strip club. There was one place in Chicago called the Admiral Theater, but that was grandfathered in because it was around in the 20s. And even that wasn't a strip club. It wasn't the Lodge or the Men's Club or anything. So don't worry. My point is this, Libby, don't worry. I'm not going to send them to anything like that because those things just don't exist in Chicago. Why don't they exist? Because that was a deal made between the government of Richard J. Daley and the Outfit. The Outfit is the mafia in Chicago. They made a deal a long time ago in the 1960s. Mayor Daley said, look, Chicago Outfit, Chicago Mafia, Al Capone, Tony Accardo, whatever you guys, I am going to do this for you. I'm going to overlook. We're not going to do anything crazy to rattle your cage. We're going to stay on our side of the street. We're going to allow you guys to operate business as usual. Here's what you're going to do in return for us, the city of Chicago. You're going to keep fucking vice, like sex vice and drug vice out of our city. And that was the deal. They were allowed to basically do whatever they want. The Chicago Mafia was allowed to, do strong arm things and, extortion and all of that. And the city was like, okay, but here's what you can't do. We don't want you bringing in any giant brothels or opening up strip clubs and all of that. And it was a deal. And for much of my life, that was pretty much how it was in Chicago. So we had to go out to skanky suburbs way out by the airports when we were in our 20s or 19 or whatever, whenever kids do that stuff. It was never good. And then I come to Dallas, and the first place I went into was the Lodge. And I was like, holy fuck. Where are the bikers? Where are the strippers with gigantic cesarean scars? Oh my God, this is a completely different environment. Now this Dallas is a gentleman's club. Wasn't my experience. So don't worry about that. So I'm not going to send you any of those kinds of places. Because they don't exist. At least maybe they do now. Maybe a lot's changed. I don't know. What else can we talk about here? Adam's going alone. He said, and let's make a Shannon Sharp video of us having sex that others can hear. Nice. I'm starting to come down, and my friend Jerry and I were talking about this. My buddy Jerry. Jerry's a sports guy and all this. We were talking about this, and Jerry believes that this was not real. He believes that, well, here's what I believe. Here's what my buddy Jerry says. My buddy Jerry says that Shannon Sharp is looking around at what he's doing, his club Shay Shay and all of the stuff that he's creating is, people have been talking about stuff he's been doing now for the last year or so. And he's looking around, he's looking at the New Heights podcast. He's looking at, who's the dude that does the basketball one, the basketball player. Point is this, he wants to know, Shannon's like, where's my $100 million payday? Where's my $200 million exclusive Amazon deal to do my stuff? So Jerry's theory is that this was by design. That he's just trying. Kim Kardashian is what he said. He goes, this is Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian. It's just a different play on it. It's a little bit different. He has plausible deniability because he's a man of a certain age. And he can say, well, I just don't understand these apps. That's believable. That's like, yeah, that's probably true. So Jerry thinks that this was all a fake and that Shannon Sharp did it deliberately. And he's reaping the benefits of being talked about and all the clicks and the hits and the new interest in Club Shay Shay and the overtime with Ocho, all that stuff, which is okay. Well done, sir. Here's what I think. Jerry has convinced me to a degree that might in fact be what's going on with the Shannon Sharp sex tape. He's convinced me that the benefits to this being made public in the way that they were for Shannon Sharp are tremendous, especially in the immediacy. People who probably never heard of Shannon Sharp immediately YouTube searched him. So that's good. But I think he really did fuck up. I think it's very believable that he didn't know how to do the Instagram and it screwed up and hit a wrong button, started having sex with this woman in the middle of the day. And it did get streamed. And that was his honest reaction when he looks at the camera. We played it yesterday, and he says, I don't know. I hit the wrong button. I'm very embarrassed. I don't know how to do the phone. Because a lot of us have been there. A lot of us are like, I don't know how to do my phone either. I live in fear of accidentally being exposed by something that I do on my phone. So I think that's real. But I think that at some point, I think his marketing team, I think his branding people, like in the moment, I think they went, okay, we can work with this. This is actually good. All right, Shannon, here's what you need to know. We're going to do, I think that it's half and half. I think that it legitimately happened. And I think that there is now momentum with his marketing team and all of that to capitalize on it. And so that is the sort of Kardashian Paris effect. Either way, here's the thing. It's not an important story. It's a stupid story. But it's a fun story. It's a fun story because it's got a little bit of naughty and a little bit of... One more time, I'd like to thank our executive producer of today's show, the fantastic Chris C. Check out the Sports Bras. That was very nice of him. Someone who... It's very nice of him. Thank you. He is the executive producer because he was the big tipper of the day. If you want to be the executive producer for Monday, please think of us. We do this every day. We slave. We work so hard for very little. Drop a little something in the Venmo, the Cash App, whatever it is. Help out the show as you have for the past 3 years. Appreciate you. It's going to be a shitty weekend of college football. There's no interesting games. I don't know if you've looked at the schedule for college football this weekend. Freaking Alabama, Wisconsin. That's the fucking highlight of the week, I mean, there's nothing Saturday. That's going to suck. Sunday, we got football back. Very excited about that. My Bears play on Sunday night. Bears taking on the Texans. Oh, you guys, here's something. Check this out. I heard something the other day on Chicago Sports Radio, and when I say the other day, I mean yesterday. They were playing a clip from a Houston sports radio station, and the clip featured the general manager of the Houston Texans being interviewed. It's a weekly hit. The general manager goes on this station every week, and he talks to them. A show in Chicago, a sports radio show in Chicago, got this clip from this Houston radio show This interview with the general manager of the Houston Texans. The Bears and Texans are playing on Sunday night. And they played it last night, and I heard it. And they were blown away. The hosts in Chicago were like, oh my God, he's football Rain Man. Here's what happened. The general man, is it Nick Casario? Is that is it Casarius? Casario? Who's the GM of, I know he's the guy that came from the Patriots, but forgive me. I'm old and the names are sometimes. So he was asked by the Houston radio station, Chicago Bears coming into town, big game on Sunday. What are you guys looking at when you see the Chicago Bears? And this general manager for the fucking Houston Texans went on a 5-minute, he's like a Rain Man, went on this 5-minute player-by-player position breakdown of every single player on the Chicago Bears. That's how good that's how football-y that general manager is down there. He's like, well, first of all, you got to look at Caleb Williams and the questions that we have about him. I mean, certainly he dazzles everybody with his abilities. We all saw that in college, and I think that I would be a fool to think that he is anything other than special. But what we've seen with him is when his footwork, he's got these movements that he's doing, and I think at the professional level, that needs to be something that is, ironed out, and we should see that in the next couple of days. We're looking at his weapons now. DJ Moore, probably the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL. I mean, I coached him when he was at Maryland for a brief period of time, and I can tell you that nobody can make a break on a ball and a run after catch quite as good as DJ Moore did back then, and he's done nothing but prove me right in the pros. Keenan Allen, they brought him over from San Diego. We almost went with Keenan Allen. We tried to get him, but instead he chose to go to the Bears. That's okay because we ended up with Diggs anyway. But Keenan Allen, I think we all know about his route running abilities in 13. Then he went into the offensive line. Like you can do that with the stars, right? Holy fuck. So that's why Chicago radio was playing it. Chicago radio is like, listen to this guy. This is like the most football-y smart guy. Anyway, congratulations to the Texans. They've got a GM who is a fucking like autistic Rain Man when it comes to breaking down the opponents. He was really impressive. So that's Sunday night. Yeah. Chris, Sports Bros says Jerry would say, and well, Jerry could not break down. Jerry could not. I mean, dude, this guy, the GM down there in Texans, like just minute details about Tevin Jenkins, the right guard, who's only been in the league for 3 years. Well, this is, the first fully healthy year for Tevin. Last year, he had a couple of pretty major injuries. I think that he tried to play through them. That may have affected the way other people look at him. But Tevin Jenkins, I go back to his first year in the league. He took, I think it was 72 of the first 150 snaps. How would he know that? Like, how the fuck would he? It's not his team. It's not even in the same league. This is an NFC team. He's an AFC GM. He came from the Patriots, and it's just amazing, these football people. So here's the takeaway from listening to him. All of you like fantasy football dorks who like to play GM and all that, you need to listen to what a real GM sounds like. This motherfucker, holy shit. All right, I love you guys. Thank you again to Chris, our executive producer on today's show, who will be Mondays. Let's see. I'm out of here. You guys have yourself a great week, okay? We are live every Monday through Friday, around about noon, here from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios in the beautiful E-Gallery in Dallas's Design District. We are, of course, a property wholly owned and promoted and loved by Radio Misfits, but you can call us Radio Misfits Dallas. Bye, everybody.